fucking exhausted. Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, chat. Ow. Hi. Hello. God damn it, man. Oh. When I was starting to stream, I was like, do I even stream today? Like, that went into the back of my mind. I haven't slept, which isn't good. I don't know why I stayed up all nights, but I could not sleep for the life of me. Like, I just couldn't. I could not, and it sucked. Huge. Apparently, oh, well, that's interesting. There's a mods update for the mods manager for Malfour Idol. Huh, that's cool. I haven't really been keeping up with the mod for Malfour Idol. I don't know. I don't know how it's doing. I wish I could. I just forget about it from time to time. I should, like, every month at least be like, oh, let me go look at it. Can you tell I'm tired? I'm exhausted. Oh. I just need to wake up. Like, properly wake up, and then I'll be good to go. I'll be good to go. We can stall for a little bit. Stall for a bit. Oh, we get ourselves awake. Oh, good morning, though, chat. Holy dude. Yesterday was something else. I went offline at a good time. I was ready to go to bed. And then I ended up not going to bed. By the way, my internet has been wonky all night. It's like in and out. So if I do go offline, I'm probably gonna stay offline. But I'm letting you know right now, if it does happen, then sorry, not sorry. Kind of it is what it is type of deal. I don't really know what to get myself into today. I'm in the Space Engineers. I have the Space Engineers thing. Because I said it to that yesterday, I'm pretty sure. Before I logged off. So, that's something. But I actually have no idea what I want to play today yet. Like, I don't know what I want to do yet. Rise of the Dark Fog is out, the DSP update. I have no intentions of playing it or looking at it or even thinking about it at all. None. Zero intentions of it. What else? What else was I gonna talk about? I think CSGO finally fixed their bug. Sure. We were talking about eco stuff last night, going over what we were gonna do on eco. We have a general census so far of it. Looks like seven, 8, 9, 10 people. 10 people. Really? That's pretty good. That's pretty good. That's actually pretty good. 10 people so far. That'll be fun. That'd be fun. Yeah, it'll most likely be after the holidays, potentially. Uh, either uh, January. January would be easy. Although it'd be weird to start it on January 1st because that's New Year's, and I feel like everyone's gonna be drunk. I'm definitely gonna be drunk on New Year's Day. So I don't know exactly. I'm not entirely sure. No clue yet. We'll talk about it more as I get a better picture. Definitely talking about it every day though now. Feels like at least. What the fuck did I just do? I somehow made it so that I can't, Sure. That works. Fine. My calendar somehow broke on my computer. Excuse me, sorry. Oh my god, dude. Why did I think streaming was a good idea right now? Thing is, I need to stay up. But I'm sure there's like tons of other ways to stay awake without having to stream. I could just watch YouTube videos all day or something. But I like uh streaming. That took too long for me to say. It's muted. Just in case I want to see. Okay, cool. Alright, anyways. So, today's plan, then, if my internet stays for at least a decent chunk, I am probably only going to be streaming for maybe like 4 hours at best. Probably. That should get me to the next cycle. So I don't know what I want to start with. Whether I want to do SE or just do WoW Hardcore for now. There's not really anything I'd be doing in WoW. I want to take... I don't know what I want to do. I'm like a bit like confuzzled whether or not I actually want to like do something here. House Flipper 2 came out. $36 for this game though. Holy shit, that's steep. Even though it looks sick, I don't think I'd pay $36 for that. That is way too steep. Oh my god, God of War is at $25. That's insane. Currently just browsing the Steam Workshop just cuz. Why not? I mean, this is what happens during a sleepy stream, man. Sleepy stream ends up becoming a like let's chat for like 6 hours stream. Oh yeah, that's good stuff, man. Good stuff right there. Oh yeah, I did find out that apparently Polya was out. It's not on Steam. It's out. It's still in beta. It's not like full release. At least not from what I've heard. Unless it is full release and I just heard wrong. And I completely forgot. I just didn't know. I thought it had not come out yet, and it's not a game I plan on playing anytime soon. Because like I have so many games to play, so many games I want to play, I should say. So it's just like that's just It's not gonna happen for a little bit. It's not. So it is what it is. If I can like find what the fuck I'm looking for here. Few things to chat about real quick before I completely forget and it's like out of my mind. I think I made some tweaks to the stream times. Right, didn't I? No. Well, kind of. It'll be in the morning still, I think. For the Christmas stream, it most likely won't be starting with Eco. Probably not. Probably not. But we'll do some cool stuff on Christmas. We still have like stuff like trucking. We got BattleBit. We got Tetris 99. If even we got a few things that I wanna definitely play during that. Also for the New Year stream, if we ever have like, because we probably will have like time where we're doing literally nothing. What I'll end up doing is continuing the Lego set that I just never finished. I still have a shit ton of Lego sets to build as well, so like there's still a lot to get done. That's not the button I wanted to click. What else? Thinking. So just to get a idea of what games I want to play and or get to playing. Let me make a new file here. Games I want to end up playing. So obviously right now we're playing. Right now it's Space Engineers / WoW. Eventually, like, obviously, I don't know what after Space Engineers is gonna look like. We still haven't figured out a day for Eco. So whenever we figure out a day for Eco, Eco is gonna be sometime, and then it's also going to be mixed with like WoW after ? No idea yet. It might honestly just be all Eco the entire time, and then maybe a day or two where I like play WoW, or like a few days in between where I play WoW. I could also have WoW on like the side or something if I really wanted to do it that way. And then obviously, the after Eco would be the Meteor in 30 days. After Eco I want to play. I want to probably actually finish Talos Principle 2. Because I think we're halfway done with that game. I think I could get it done. If I like just focus hardcore on it. I still want to do Farming Sim at some point. I don't know when that's gonna be. No idea. Probably for the Christmas stream, if anything. I know you guys can't see what I'm typing right now, but don't worry about it. It's okay. You don't need to see. I mean, I guess I can show you. Doesn't really matter, does it? Doesn't matter. Where does this pop? Close that. Close those two. Okay. Let me think. There's another game I want to play in between here, isn't there? There's another game. Obviously, I want to go back to Polia eventually. So let's just put Polia. Let's just do this. Right. Wow. Right. Thinking. There's another game that I had in mind that I wanted to play. Obviously, I want to get back to maybe doing some F1. That's like big question mark though. I want to play Ixion again. There was another one on stream. There's a few games that I already have prepped for the Christmas stream, which is probably gonna also be a 24, if anything. Hasn't there been an update? There was the difficulty update and other updates as well on top of that. But like the difficulty update, I do remember happening. I just never played when it dropped. This is like order of operations right here. Is like where this game is in that order of when I might end up playing it. And who knows what could like come out during this time that like I'd be like, oh, I'm gonna play that game. Like for example, if any of these games come out during that time, besides Polia, because we already know Polia. If like whenever Frostpunk 2 drops, whenever Shapes 2 drops, whenever Risk of Rain 2 Seekers of the Storm drops, Rogue Soulstorm, I'm not going to play on stream, but whenever Cooking Sim 2 drops, whenever Hades 2 is definitely going to be the game I play a fuck ton. Balatro maybe here and there. Balatro is a good game, but I don't see myself playing it too much, so I don't expect a lot of Balatro content from me. But like most of these games, if not all these games, I think Rogues, Soulstone, Anvil, Empires, and obviously the ATS maps are the only ones that you might rarely or ever see me play on stream. Obviously, BeamNG is here because it's fun. It'll be fun to grab when this goes on sale. And I know it will because Christmas sales typically bring everything down. And there's no way this won't go on sale. I'm doing okay-ish. I'm really fucking tired. Like, I'm exhausted. Which is why I'm doing this, like, weird kind of let's chat for a little bit stream. Even though I'm, like, in the Space Engineers category. You think Twitch would ban me for that? Probably not, right? But yeah, this is, like, a list of games I want to eventually go back to, right? And end up playing. What am I thinking here? Woke up this morning and lost my voice. Yeah, that sucks, dude. That does suck. There's another game that I wanted to check out eventually. Obviously, My Summer Car, but My Summer Car, we're gonna, like, I already have that here in the Christmas stream. We're gonna do a multiplayer test with Xeroxis. So, like, I don't really need to put it again. Also, I can delete this because I don't think this is gonna happen during Christmas. Was Foundry on my list? I'm gonna be honest with you. Foundry didn't really entice me. I know, like, Factorio is gonna get its update, but that won't be for a very long time. I don't think it's coming for a while. I expect quarter three of 2024 for Factorio to drop. There's no way they don't. They drop it early. That the only reason that's not on my list is because that might just, like, randomly come up when we're playing one of these games, you know. So I'm thinking here. There's another game here that I also wanted to play that isn't on this list. Oh, I never put Unrailed here. Unrailed is definitely going to be a game that we play for sure. Like, Unrailed will 100% be a game we play. Probably. Obviously, we're not going to get to all of the games that are on this list, but this is a good, like, list to, like, be like, when we do the New Year's mega stream, we'll be like, all right, how many people do we have? Do we have enough people for this, or this? And then we have, like, a list, basically, to kind of fall back on, you know? Which is good. And if we don't have anybody for anything, then I end up just playing something by myself or with one or two more people, however many there may be. And then when more people show up, it'll happen. You know, Among Us will not happen. This is a meme. This is not happening. It's not happening. Every single time we've tried to play Among Us together, it's never happened. I think we played literally one game of Among Us. A singular game of Among Us amongst our group. Yeah, we have 104 minutes played. It's not happening. It's not. It ain't happening. Isn't Stardew also getting, like, a huge update or something? Yeah, 1.6. Is this still in development? This was Thursday, September 28th, 2023. Nothing for 3 months? Yikes. Support for 8-player multiplayer. That's sick. Oh, man. Man said, can you hurry up, please? Man really told a single dev to hurry up. Single dev. Oh, what a world we live in. Oh, yeah, I also want to do... Fuck, there's so many games. We play this a few times on stream quite often, and it updates quite frequently, to be honest. I wonder if they're going to do another one. I highly doubt it. They might honestly do, like, a second game if possible, but, like, I don't think that's going to be anytime soon. But I know this has had updates since the last time I played. Nothing big yet, at least not that I can see. This is the biggest update. This was November 16th. And when did I play it? July 31st. So yeah, technically I missed that update. So there's obviously more updates that are going on to this game. So this is a game that I want to obviously play at some point, possibly again. It's good fun. It's definitely for like a week. It's good fun. Oh. I'm thinking. House Flipper 2 is probably never gonna happen. It's just not. Stardew 1.6, maybe by end of year, likely to be January 24th. Really? Oh. That's interesting. Yo, is this game actually any good? This looked like mostly positive. This looked like the shooter that's trying to be 75% though. That's not good. 75% is bad. Dev released a message a week ago saying that he's grinding to get it done for end of year. Ooh, okay. I hope he doesn't like completely burn himself out from that. There's a cheater issue at the moment though. Yeah. Like any FPS game, there's always a cheater issue. Always. Always, always, always. Oh, for a second I was like, what is this? How bad has this gotten? Oh, recent reviews has brought it back up to 62%. Wow. Hey, look. But. Pog. Jesus Christ, man. Ooh, SnowRunner would be fun. Payday 3 was such a letdown. Dude, it really was. It felt like the KSP2 of games. Is it crazy that like that's like an actual term and it means nothing good. Just means nothing good. Like Diablo 3, yeah. 4 even. Yeah, like City Skylines too, you know. Yeah. It's all just bad. All just bad, man. Bad. You were so hyped for Cities. This is me yikesing at you. Big yikes, dude. I never played Subnautica. Can you believe that? Is that like crazy? Oh, dude. Yeah, that's what I was gonna put on my list. I want to also Trackmania. Obviously, this is like a kind of whatever the fuck game. Like I can almost play that whenever. But it's on the list because I want it. I want to remember that that's a game that I actually want to go back to and play again. I was playing it like a week ago, I think. Like over a week ago. And I ended up getting to Div 2 in a couple of days. Which is kind of pog. I didn't win. But I got to Div 2. Oh, man. There's nothing else that I see here that's like out there. You know? Hot Wheels. Has SnowRunner's gotten any updates at all? I feel like it's always on the front page for something. I feel like it's always on the front page. I don't remember what else I was going to put on this list that isn't already like included. Oh, dude. Maybe I should go back to like games I haven't played in like forever. Like for example, Hard Space Shipbreaker. I stopped playing that game because it ran like shit on my PC. Now it will run so much better. I still haven't played Heavenly Bodies because I was waiting for Blaze so that we can do like co-op stuff. I don't know if that's gonna happen anytime soon. It's always fun to revisit those kind of games. Yeah, usually you revisit because it like updates or something. But I just kind of want to revisit because like I like never got to really like for example Death Stranding for example. Like I never really got to play Death Stranding because I couldn't. Elden Ring I never got to play. You know. would definitely be cool to revisit those games. Just cause, you know. Why not? Yeah, I watched Waffle play which one was it? Death Stranding. I watched his Death Stranding playthrough. His like the whole like whiteboard shenanigans. That was where the whiteboard meme became like immaculate, you know? That's where the whiteboard meme was born. Dude, imagine if he takes out the whiteboard again for Kojima's new game. uh Whiteboard is legendary. It really is. It truly is. It's like a staple, you know? Oh. But yeah, that would be a good game to like come back to at one point. I don't know when, but that'd be fun. Hmm. Trying to think. What do I want to do? I'm at a dilemma right now. I'm too tired to be fully focused, so I can't really play all that much WoW hardcore because I will die. um, and I don't want to just like launch Space Engineers either because I'm too tired to think. I'm just fucking exhausted, man. It's a goddamn day, man. I should just so that Twitch doesn't get mad at me. Chillin' is gonna be my new title, and my category is gonna be just chatting. There you go. There you go. Twitch, I did nothing wrong. I wasn't in the wrong category for 42 minutes. I wasn't. That was you. Space Engineers was good, but I kind of got lost. I kind of lost once. Wait. I got kind of lost once I got to the second planet. I'd kind of completed the game. So my goal for the Space Engineers hardcore that I'm doing is not just get out of the planet and go to space and go to a different planet, but to establish a full-on like space base, like in space, right? Like go up there with and essentially make an ISS. That's what it's called, right? The ISS. I don't remember. Right. International Space Station. Yeah. 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 Dude, wait a second. This thing launched in November 20th, 1998. What? I was born like 2 months after this. That's fucking wild. That is actually fucking wild to think about. Sheesh, man. Sheesh. Dude, it cost 150 million. No, 150 billion USD for this goddamn ship. The ISS was like the first uh like not not like man, but like the ISS was the first what am I trying to say? And it's gonna deorbit soon because it's too old or something. Really? ISS is deorbiting? At the conclusion of the ISS program, the station will be deorbited in a controlled manner to ensure avoidance of populated areas on Earth. Oh. What is the ISS going to be replaced with? Airbus and U.S. space exploration firm Voyager Space announced Wednesday a joint venture to develop Starlab, a commercial alternative to replace the International Space Station by the end of the decade. In 2030? Uh, right. Uh, cringe though. Commercially operated? I don't like that. Wait, the Axiom. Hold up. Monka. Like the same one from Wally? Holy shit. It's happening. It's happening. It's over for us, boys. Do we have BNL yet? By and large. Where are they? Where are they? Huh? Where are they? Where are they? Oh no. Oh no. Oh, it's okay. It's not by and large yet. It's okay. It's still the Brookhaven National Laboratory. It's okay. Okay. Blue Origin, Nanorax, and Northrop Grumman have all stepped forward as companies wanting to provide the international community with access to a COD supported by NASA funding. Oh, so what's going to happen is they're going to send the new thing up, right? And then they're going to deorbit an unmanned ISS. Huh. God damn it. That means dude. That means the prophecy of not everybody being on Earth since 1998 will still continue. God damn it. Oh. There will still be some that aren't on Earth. Yeah, exactly. That's the running gag, right? The since 1998, every human hasn't been on Earth at the same time because there's always somebody in the ISS. In space. I thought China was connected to the ISS. I thought they had a thing where they connected up with the ISS. Was I lied to? Other countries that have made a space station. There's the Skylab. No, never mind. Oh, Jesus. I don't think that's operational anymore. There's a table. Failed to reach orbit. Oof. Where the heck is the ISS on this list? Why is it not here? Huh. ISS not even real. So true. It's actually been faked. It's been planted into our minds. It's like a Mandela effect, you know? Oh wait, hold on. Maybe? Holy shit, dude. 9,154 days in orbit. Oh my god. When you put it like this, it doesn't even seem like that much. It doesn't. But then when you take this number and then go days to years and then put this number here, that seems like a lot more. 25 years, and it's going to be up there for another, what did you say? 7, 8 years? It's going to be 33 years. 33 years. God damn, dude. God damn. That's crazy. Nothing even comes close to 9K. Nothing. The second longest is this. And it re-entered orbit in 2001. The Mir. Especially when you think of the tech that they did it with. Oh, dude. In 98, they did it with jack shit. Is this what you're talking about? Tigon space station? Yeah, currently only in orbit 958 days. It launched on 2021. I think I remember this actually. I didn't know it was like a full-on space station. I thought this was like a thing that they were connecting to the ISS. I didn't know it was their own space station. I was unaware. Robotic visits? Wow, their crew is pretty tiny. I expected more people than this. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, they legitimately have someone from China in the ISS. they they have they have a Chinese like astronaut, like a full on Chinese astronaut in the ISS. So they steal all our secrets and stop us discovering the moon laser. Listen, the moon laser is meant to not be discovered. Okay? Holy shit, dude. Yeah, this is the problem though now. With the fact of it being commercial stuff, there's no sanctions here. Like you can see 80% of this is owned by the US. And that means the US has full say so what goes on in that space station. Nobody else can be like intervening at all, which just sounds scary to me, man. The ISS was built on the reason that like at least like all these members, they're astronauts at the end of the day, right? They go through basically the same routines, the same things. They have to live together. They have to be a family. They have to, you know. This feels like no family. There's an international convention that nothing in space can be owned, so the ISS in theory is the world. But like when you put it up to the corporations, you get something like this rather than having more of this. Like, look how much stuff is NA here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 things. 8 things at least have the entity for NA. NA 100% owns space. They own space. They announced this in 2021 as their new. Damn. It's crazy that they just know from the get-go that yeah, we're probably going to have like a crew of 4. We're going to do like 2025. We're going to aim for 2025. That's wild to plan something like that. Obviously, it has to be like kind of to the T. Like you want to know how many people are going to fit in that station, how it's going to run, what it's going to do, all the things, you know? They're 5 head. Yeah, they're much smarter than I am. Much. Scheduled to be the world's first commercial space station, Heaven 1 and subsequent human spaceflight missions will accelerate access to space exploration. First commercial space station? Second half of 2020s. Says that Blue Origin and Sierra Space are already commercial stations in LEO. You got some explaining to do, brother. What do you mean? they they were technically first. What do you mean? Oh, I don't like this. Free flying space station for commercial tourism? What kind of commercial tourism? Oh my god. Constructed but launch canceled due to lack of funding. Now a museum piece. That's rough. That's rough. Can you imagine being in school and getting a letter to take to your parents that you're going on a trip to space for a science class? Dad, can you sign this letter for me? I'm going on a field trip. It's gonna take like a week. Where the fuck are you going that it's gonna be a week? Space. Say again. I ain't signing shit. Holy dude. Holy dude. Holy shit. No, they also like tell you to provide like some cash so that like uh they can actually attend the trip, and your kid comes up to you is like, "It's only $10,000, Dad. Can I go?" Oh yeah, take some spending money to buy stuff from on the ISS or the space gift shop. Here's another $500 so that you can buy something pretty. Your kid just goes, "This won't even buy me a pack of gum." You gotta pay shipping from space, only 100K per kilogram. Holy shit. Yo, with inflation, can we like guess? Uh, inflation. Do you think we can guess what what $500 might look like in like, I don't know. What year did they put? Where was it? Oh, here we go. 2026? No, it's not going to change that much. It's not going to change that much. Wait. $500 in 2026 was worth $464 in 2023? So you gained $36? That's not how math works. Can I do this to like 2026? There we go. Yeah, I didn't think that was going to change all that much. 538. Okay, when it becomes available to like our kids, when do you think I'd ever have a kid in my entire life? Probably never, right? We can like be sure of that. Let's say, what's like a reasonable age to have a kid? Like probably late 30s, maybe 40s. How old am I? I'm 25. I'm not gonna have a kid in 5 years. That's not happening. But let's say I did. In 5 years, it will be 2024, 2025, 2026, 2028. Then they need to grow up to at least like 16. So we need to go get a calculator real quick. All right, we're in 2028. They were just born. Let's say they need to grow up to at least 16, 17-ish. That's high school era. 2044? Oh my god. All right, boys. Start saving your money. We're going to be rich in 2044, boys. We're going to be rich. You get $340? Big. Spaceships, for fuck's sakes. Oh, God. How much do you think the spaceship might actually cost? Like, unironically, probably like 10K, right? Oh, my God. Sick. Only 20K, dude. Sick. Dude, how old would I be in 2044? I'm 25 now. 2023 minus 2044. 21. I did it wrong. Oops. I would be 46. That's it? I would only be 46? Bro. What? What? How? How would I only be 46? Dude, my dad's like 52 or something, I think. I'm fucking young, man. Holy shit, I'm just realizing this. What's the average lifespan of a male? US male. 77.28 years. Why does the UK get 80 years? Why are we declining? Wait, hold up. What's happening here? Do I need to move? UK healthcare better. Okay. How old would I have to be like 80? How many years is that? 55 years? 2078? I don't even get I might see 2080. Okay, will I even live to like 2100? Will that happen? That won't happen, right? That's 77 years. I could. I unironically could. Look up the life expectancy in like 2050. There's no way that this would tell me that, right? $93? What the fuck? Females will rise to 93 at best. Huh. Dude, 2050 is not even. It's so wild that's a sentence. 2050 is not even that far away. I would be 52. fuck, dude. Holy fuck. Dude. I'm having like an existential crisis, kind of. That's wild. That's wild to think. That's insane, dude. Dude, that's crazy though. By the way, a lot of these were known at the time to be literal like spy stations. I'm like 95% sure that the Soviet Union sent out stations just to spy on US. Yeah, take pictures and stuff. Yeah, there's a lot of spying back and forth, to be completely honest, during the Soviet Union era. But I mean, like, bitches, we won the freaking moon race, all right? Eat it, you fucks. America, fuck yeah. Holy. Jesus Christ, man. Have you seen the show? I forget. Hollis mentioned it to me another day. I forgot what it was called. I think it's like Moon Race or something. Moon Race show. Oh, here we go. For All Mankind. Have you seen this? This is really good. This is really good. Like it essentially like takes you through what could have possibly happened if the US actually didn't win the space race and um didn't wasn't able to ever launch and get onto the moon like they did, and the Soviet Union won instead. Like it is wild. It is what is this actually what I think it is? Okay, yeah. Basically what I think it is. This one's so much louder. You can't hear it? Good. And it's working exactly as intended. Give us the song of our people. Okay, here you go. God, it's so fucking loud. Anyways. Oh man. What a time. What a time to be alive. Oh man. This is a wild era, by the way. Like 1991 was the dissolution. That's that's crazy. That's fucking dude. I mean, I'm just be real with you. Um, the U.S. kind of caused this. Uh, I'm that might be a little. That might be a hot take. We the U.S. the U.S. kind of. A little, just a little bit, just teeny tiny bit. Oh man, not everything needs to be caused by U.S. To be honest, I mean, didn't we literally give them um resources? U.S. claims to be involved in resource and everything. Freedom. Ow. 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 Well, this is by far has to be the craziest thing though. Was the Soviet Union, and then of course like uh what's it called? This. What was that movie called? Um. God damn, what was the movie called? Um. Oh God, I don't remember. I don't remember. What was the movie called? Movie that talks. Uh. It's not this, is it? What is it? What was it called? What the fuck was it called? I hate how allies just sold us checks to Adolf H, thinking he will stop when he gets it. What was our best defense? Network of bunkers around our borders, and then they could just take whole chests. What are you? What? 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 The appeasements in World War II were wild. Very short-sighted, based on fear from causing another World War post World War One. Munich Agreement. Wait. Huh? I actually have no idea what you're talking about. The Munich Agreement was okay. Nazi Germany, the United Kingdom, French Republic, fascist Italy. I don't know the fascist Italy arc. Oh no, I'm gonna go down to like, I'm gonna go down. I'm gonna go down like some arc and crazy. Wait, he actually like signed something? Do they have his? Oh my god, what is this signature? I don't know what that's supposed to say. What? So what happened? 3 million people. Pact is also known in some areas as the Munich Betrayal. This is the previous 1924 alliance agreement. A low intensity undeclared war on Czech. 1938. In reaction, the United Kingdom and okay. Right. Oh yikes. Oh no. Not this guy. Oh, I can see why he was hated now. Agreement was quickly reached on Hitler's term and signed by the leaders of Germany, France, Britain, and Italy. Czech mountainous borderland that the powers offered to appease Germany had not only marked the national border between the Czech state and the German state since the early Middle Ages, but it also presented a major natural obstacle to any possible German attack, having been strengthened by significant border fortifications of absolute strategic importance to Czech. Due to the combination of military pressure by Germany, Poland, and Hungary, and diplomatic pressure by the United Kingdom and France, and agreed to give up territory to Germany on Munich terms. Then on October 1st, Czech also accepted Polish territorial demands. Nazi puppet slates proclaimed its independence shortly after. He reneged solemn promises to respect the integrity of Czech by invaded Czech and turning it into the Protectorate of Bohemia and Moravia, giving Germany full control of what remained of Czech, including its significant military arsenal that later played an important role in Germany's invasion of Poland and France. Bruh. Bruh. Ghost of Munich. UK and France literally sold us to Germans, part of us, without us, Czechs, and then they invaded us. He is literally the evil of all evil. How do you trust this man? The Allies actively knew he was rebuilding his military despite of the Treaty of Versailles. How do you? I'm pronouncing things incorrectly, so don't mind me. We did nothing about it. We call it talk about us without us. Then we gave a load of stuff to him. Learning about the painter, I see. Cool, cool. So, whoa. What the fuck? Versailles? Kind of how you say it. Um, they started counting membership at 500 to give the impression they were a much larger party. Bruh. A Jewish question? Hitler made his earliest known written statement about the Jewish question. The Jewish question? Society Europe during the Versign. Yeah, kind of like that. Only I accept is the Verstappening. Oh god. And fascist Italy was first, and Hitler kind of get some inspiration from Mussolini, if I remember correctly. The painter can sock me. He hated us. He hated everyone. Oh. Reselling Jews in Madagascar. That was a thing? Dude, I'm about to go down some arc, man. Nazi propaganda. Why did he hate them so much, though? Like, there's never a, like... You know what's weird about this symbol? This is probably going to get me banned on Twitch. This is, I'm pretty sure, started as a... Where is it? Yeah, like a Buddhist symbol or something. Where was it? Yeah. Like Hindu swastikas, like this was like an actual thing. This was like a sign of religion in Buddhism. Like it's been so farly tainted now. Like it's so unfortunate how this symbol has gone. Oh, I didn't know about this. What? Wait, the Navajo and the Hopi? The idea of the Aryan race isn't even his. He took that from another ancient culture. Jesus Christ, man. Holy shit, man. I will be honest with you with this though. If you are like if you're majoring in like any historical shit, any kind of like uh psychology shit, this book is actually unironically something you should be reading. Like this book lets you understand and helps prevent shit like this. Wait, he was actually imprisoned? They didn't kill him? It's legal to sell it now? It's been legal to sell for a long time though. He wrote Mein Kampf in prison. Does it actually say that? Holy shit, he does. He served a year in prison. Was this before the fucking Holocaust? Oh, it must have been, because like the Holocaust is all the way down here, dude. Didn't he literally rebuild by attacking what's it called? Attacking his own country? Oh, here we go. Hold on.
Subscription. Skillshare is under $10 a month. And if you'd like to try it out first, it's 1902. A young man by the name of Benito Mussolini moves from Italy to Switzerland to avoid military service. He gets big into socialism, working for trade unions, writing for socialist newspapers, advocating a violent overthrow of European monarchies, the whole shebang. This gets him in a bit of trouble with the Swiss police, so he gets arrested, sent back to Italy, set free, returns to Switzerland, is arrested again, goes back to Italy again, completes his military service after previously avoiding it, and then after a brief stint as an elementary school teacher, he finally returns to work as an avid socialist. His speeches and journalistic abilities made him famous among Italian socialists. He was anti-war, so when Italy colonized Libya in 1910, he rioted and got arrested. Then World War I came along, and once again he protested Italy's involvement. But then he thought, wait a minute, this war could bring about the social climate needed to overthrow European monarchies and bring about the socialist revolution everywhere. And suddenly he was pro-war. But his fellow socialists didn't like his new pro-war stance, so they kicked him out of the party. So then he said, you know what? I'm done with socialism. We need something new, not based on class divisions tearing us apart, but based on unity through nationality. We'll conquer the Mediterranean and reunite all Italian peoples just like the days of the Roman Empire. I'll call it fascismo, and it will guide the Italian nation to greatness. That's all well and good, Mr. Mussolini, but what kind of haircut am I giving you? Let's go with bold.
Oh my god.
Italy had been on the winner's side in World War I, and they hoped they were going to get a lot out of it, but in the end, they only got a little, and they felt cheated. On top of that, a bad economy and weak governments meant that the Italian people were a little unhappy. So when Mussolini came along and said that he could fix everything, his fascist movement gained a lot of support. In 1922, he went to the king and said, make me prime minister, or I'll make me prime minister. And the king said, you and what army? This army. Fair enough. Then he went about establishing a dictatorship with himself at its center. Europe had its first fascist dictator. Next up, Germany. Germany had been on the loser's side, and they got absolutely wrecked by the Treaty of Versailles. They lost territory, had to demilitarize the Rhineland, had to reduce their army to just 100,000 men, couldn't have an air force, had to pay the Allies a huge amount of money that it didn't have, and a new rule was established that every Englishman withheld the right to walk into the center of Berlin, pick out any German they wanted, and spank the hell out of them. I made that last one up, but it helps you understand how all of this felt to Germans. On top of that, a bad economy and weak governments meant that when a small angry man with a silly mustache came along and said that he could fix everything, the German people loved it. Hitler had been a soldier during World War I, and he was crazy patriotic, and nobody was madder than him about Germany's humiliation. He helped start a new political party, and in 1923 attempted a march on Munich with his boys. And then he got arrested. But his popularity grew, and in 1933, the president made him chancellor. He believed he was Germany's great destined savior, and he went full megalomaniac, establishing a dictatorship with himself at its center. Europe had fascist dictator number 2. Hitler and Mussolini had a lot of the same ideas, but more importantly, they had the same enemies.
Did that just say not racist?
Anyone else want to be friends?
Oh, for a second I thought that said not racist. Quite racist and extremely racist.
Same ideas, but more importantly, they had the same enemies, and they started to get along. Anyone else want to be friends? Franco? No? You good? I do. Who's that? It's Japan, and they've taken over northern China. Let's rewind a bit.
Oh my god, I remember this. Holy fuck. Wait.
Japan had isolated itself from the rest of the world for over 200 years until the Americans showed up and said, you're gonna trade with us and you're gonna like.
Dude. This, oh god. Okay, so the way we were taught this in school is that Japan, yeah, they're kind of evil, not gonna lie, but they were the one that started to beef with us instead of the other way around, where we started to beef with them. No, we were technically harassing the fuck out of them a little bit. We were just like going, "Hey Japan, hey Japan, hey Japan, trade, 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 trade. You wanna?"
Like it. Then the Western powers imposed a bunch of unequal treaties, meaning Japan's economy was bust. They also had no natural resources, so they decided to go get some. They went to war with China to gain a sphere of influence over Korea, and they took a bunch of China's stuff. But then the West said, hey, cut that out. And since Japan couldn't take on the West, they said, okay, I guess we'll just go home. Wait a minute, what are you doing? Taking advantage of a weakened China and setting up spheres of influence. But I was the one who weakened them. We know. And you guys didn't let me have anything. We know. That seems unfair. We don't think so. Okay, see ya. So Japan thought, screw this, and went to war with Russia, and stunned everyone by actually winning. Then they fully annexed Korea, but they didn't stop there. In World War I, they took Germany's colonies and islands in Asia. And then in an incident that was maybe staged by the Japanese army, a bomb blew up a Japanese train in Manchuria, giving them an excuse to launch an invasion and take over. So here's the situation. Nazi Germany, Fascist Italy, and Japan all believe they're racially superior, all feel hostility towards the Allies, and all want to militarize and take over more stuff. And so they did. Let's start with Germany. Hitler hated the Treaty of Versailles, and now he was ready to begin undoing it. In complete violation of the treaty, the first Luftwaffe squadrons were set up, conscription was introduced, and he pimped up his army. The Allies did nothing. Then Hitler sent his army back into the demilitarized...
Dude, this is so stupid. The Allies literally were like oblivious to the entire thing. For like, I don't know how long did he work on making his army bigger? For like over like a year or something, like 5 years even. It was a very long time. And the Allies were just like, he'll be fine, right? He's not going to do anything, right? He's not. He won't do it.
Militarized Rhineland, giving orders to immediately retreat if the Allies showed up. The Allies did nothing. With his military re-strengthened, he could now move on to step 2. He wanted to rapidly increase the Aryan population, and to do so, he needed Lebensraum, or in other words, he would have to take over the world. But for now, a good portion of Europe would do, and he began eyeing up his neighbors. The Allies finally started to get worried, so they implemented a fairly useless diplomatic strategy called appeasement, and it went a little something like this. Hitler would say, I want that thing, and the Allies would say, you can't have that thing. Okay, you can have that thing, but no more. I want that thing. And repeat. In 1938, Hitler's army marched into Austria and just took it, with no resistance. Boom, this is Germany now. Next, he demanded to be given the Sudetenland, an area of Czechoslovakia with many ethnic
Here we
Germans.
go.
The Allies held a meeting with Hitler in Munich and said, look, we're going to give you what... Hang on. This meeting is about my territory. Shouldn't I come to the meeting too? Anyway, we're going to give you what you want. Really? Yeah. Just like that? Yep. What's the catch? Just sign this piece of paper promising you won't invade the rest of Czechoslovakia. Okay. Then Chamberlain returned home victorious, waving his signed piece of paper in the air, declaring crisis to be averted and the continuation of world peace, and we built a statue of Chamberlain in his honor, and every day on the 30th of September we celebrate Chamberlain Day. Hitler's invading the rest of Czechoslovakia. What? He's invading the rest of...
Dude, I bet... Oh, God. This is by far the craziest shit Chamberlain had ever done in his post. And then he was absolutely killed for it, basically, when he went back to the UK. Like, everybody fucking hated him.
Czechoslovakia. Oh. You lied to me. What do you expect? I'm Hitler. Not to be outdone, Mussolini also wanted to get in on the action. He thought to himself, isn't there a not yet colonized nation somewhere which is so underdeveloped that the people would be defending themselves against our tanks with literal bows and arrows and wooden spears? Oh, there is? Fantastic. And so he took it. Italy also wanted to control the entrance to the Adriatic Sea, so they occupied Albania. Then, in another incident which was maybe staged by the Japanese, gunfire was exchanged by Japanese and Chinese troops at the Marco Polo Bridge, and the Japanese launched yet another invasion against China. They swept through Beijing and Shanghai, and then advanced through the Yangtze Valley to China's then capital, Nanking. It was here that saw the worst of Japan's shocking atrocities committed against the Chinese people. Back in Europe, Germany and Italy made their relationship status official by signing the Pact of Steel. Then, Hitler turned his eyes towards Poland and the hated Polish corridor, splitting Germany in two. At this point, the Allies really had to put their foot down, and they warned him that an invasion of Poland would mean war. Hitler had planned to continue his advance eastward, but he didn't want to end up fighting a war on two fronts. So for now, he made an alliance with Stalin, saying, "How about we both invade Poland and split it between the two of us, and I definitely won't not refrain from not betraying you sometime in the future." Sounds...
Oh,
good.
God.
This new alliance stunned the West. On the 1st of September 1939, German troops entered Poland, and Britain and France declared war on Germany. The Poles fought hard, but they were no match for the two giants crashing down on them from either side. Then came a period known as the Phony War, where everyone just sort of sat around not doing much. The French had launched a small invasion into the Saarland, but they maintained mostly defensive positions, and after a while decided to just turn around and call it a day. Speaking of France, the French were still super proud of their victory in World War I, and they hadn't really moved on from it. They still used horses, they dispatched messages by motorbike instead of using radio, orders from the commander-in-chief were usually pretty vague, and the troops were rarely inspected. They built a line of defenses along their German border, but didn't bother extending it all the way to the Channel, and they wouldn't launch artillery strikes against Germany out of fear of being retaliated against. In a war, they didn't want to attack the enemy. And at first the UK wasn't much better. Chamberlain still naively hoped that the war could be ended diplomatically. Instead of bombing raids, the RAF dropped propaganda leaflets over German cities, which one air marshal said likely did nothing but provide the continent with toilet paper for the duration of the war. They also only sent 200,000 men to France, while the French had mobilized millions. Both Britain and France wanted to avoid a repeat of the First World War, and so they wanted to keep the war as far from home as possible. So they turned their eyes north, towards Norway. Neutral Sweden was exporting iron ore to Germany through neutral Norway, so the Allies asked them if they could please stop exporting iron ore to Germany, but this request was refused. Then, the Soviet Union attacked Finland, so the Allies said, "How about we land troops in Norway and move them across Sweden to go help out your good pal Finland, and along the way maybe take control of all your armfields?" But Norway and Sweden still said no. So the UK mined the waters around Norway to force any transport ships into international waters, and they also attacked a German tanker they found in the area. Hitler realized what the Allies were up to, and he quickly moved to secure his supply of iron ore. He launched an invasion through Denmark into Norway. The Allies rushed to land troops at key ports along the coast, but Germany had taken control of Norway's airfield, and their air superiority decided the fight. The Allies had to retreat. After this slightly embarrassing failure, Chamberlain resigned, and was replaced with Winston
He was essentially forced to resign, technically speaking.
Churchill, who had a slightly different approach to dealing with the Germans. Hitler's overall strategy was similar to Germany's First World War strategy. Attack France, defeat France, knocking out the UK in the process, then turn on the Soviet Union and win the war. During the Phony War, the
Churchill
Allies had
the
given
goat.
Hitler time to prepare his forces. Now, he was ready to attack. The Allies had wanted to place troops in Belgium, but Belgium had refused, and in a move that surprised pretty much no one, Hitler launched an invasion to get around France's defenses. The Allies charged into Belgium at full speed to meet the German invasion head-on, and it looked like a repeat of the First World War was coming. But this time, Hitler had a trick up his sleeve. Blitzkrieg. As the Germans advanced, they sent thousands of refugees westward, slowing down the Allies. Then, to the south, the French had left the Ardennes, an area full of hills and forests.
Blitzkrieg, man. No. It's always the innocent people that just get
defended because they thought it was naturally impenetrable. Well, the Germans were
get
about
used
to penetrate it with everything they had. They smashed 50 Wehrmacht divisions through and encircled the Allied armies at lightning speed. The best of the Allied forces were now trapped. The Germans squeezed in from all sides, taking out France's best armies and nearly wiping out the British too. But they managed to make a desperate last-minute escape at Dunkirk, with British civilian ships even making the perilous journey to bring their young men home. With most of the French forces depleted, the Germans...
There's a movie about that, by the way. There's a legit movie called Dunkirk about that exact thing.
Taking Paris and France,
it's a good movie.
What the Germans couldn't do in World War I, Hitler had done just like that. Hitler hoped that with the fall of France, the UK would also lose hope and sue for peace. But quite annoyingly, it didn't, and he needed to secure the Western Front, so he tried to force them into submission with mind games. The UK were now all alone, and Hitler wanted to emphasize that. First of all, just before France fell, Italy finally declared war on the Allies, making the UK's situation even worse. Next, instead of just occupying all of France, Hitler occupied the coastal areas for defense, but allowed France to continue its existence as a German puppet state. This way, it looked like the UK's old ally had decided to switch sides. Hitler also hoped that the UK wouldn't attack any of her old allies' navy bases or colonies in Africa, giving Hitler an extra line of defense to the south. But the UK made sure to respond to this by sailing down to France's navy base in Algeria and wrecking a bunch of ships. So have at it. Hitler then began laying down plans for an invasion of
Not
Great Britain
US,
before German
US.
troops could land on British soil. He would first need air and naval superiority across the Channel. Waves of German bombers came, while the completely outnumbered RAF worked bravely around the clock in an attempt to quell the German attacks. At first, the Luftwaffe targeted British ports and coastal facilities. Then it attacked RAF bases, crippling the RAF's ability to defend the nation. And it looked like Hitler's Great British Invasion was coming. But
Why didn't he attack RAF first?
then, Churchill ordered a small, pretty insignificant bombing raid over Berlin. It didn't do much damage, but Hitler was furious, and he immediately ordered the Luftwaffe to refocus its attacks on civilian targets in London. Children were sent off to the countryside, away from their parents to avoid danger, and frequent trips to air raid shelters became a daily occurrence.
Yeah, this
But British morale
was
held firm.
rough. This was rough.
Smiling, knitting, lounging casually, these people have balls of steel. This refocusing on London also gave the RAF breathing space to reorganize, so Hitler kind of shot himself in the foot there. Just the foot for now. Finally, the Luftwaffe sent one massive all-out attack on London, and the RAF successfully repelled it, destroying many of the German aircraft and placing air superiority firmly in British hands. Hitler's invasion had to be postponed, but the bombing of British cities continued for some time.
Because the British had naval superiority. I'm gonna come. They probably didn't get the deep and checking how much they defended. Super Anyways, on to part 2.
So what else is happening? Well, when I said Britain was all alone, that wasn't entirely true. Many Commonwealth nations and other Allied colonies had joined the war in Britain's support. They would play a key role throughout the war, particularly in the... and other Allied colonies had joined the war in Britain's support. They would play a key role throughout...
That was funny. The American flag and then, whoops, sorry, Canada.
throughout the war, particularly in the African and Italian campaigns. On the Axis side...
Superiority. Superiority.
Germany, Italy, and Japan signed the defensive tripartite pact, bringing their military lines even closer together. The Soviet Union's war against Finland should have been an easy victory, but it became a humiliating struggle, and their military ineptitude was put on full display. In the end, they did force the Finns to sue for peace. Then, they continued their honorable campaign of pushing around much smaller countries by annexing the Baltic states and part of northern Romania. France's colonies in equatorial Africa were like, heck no, we aren't going to join the Germans, and they all pledged their allegiance to free France, except for Gabon, which had to be taken by military force. The Allies also tried to capture the strategic port of Dakar, but that ended in failure. Mussolini had seen Hitler's successes, and he thought now it was Italy's time to shine, so he tried to take British Somaliland, and that went pretty well. Then he tried to take Egypt, and that went less well. Then he tried to take Greece, and that went really badly. Churchill began referring to Italy as Europe's soft underbelly.
What the fuck?
He began favoring
there's no way Churchill actually said something like that, right? That's not real, right? What the fuck?
Campaign from the south and started sending British troops to Greece. All of this had Hitler.
I bet he did.
And he moved to
he actually did. There's no fucking way. Did Churchill call Italy the underbelly of World War II? He actually did. Bro, Giga Chad Churchill? Oh my god.
And twisted their arm into signing the tripartite pact and joining the Axis powers. Romania was also eager to join for protection against the Soviet Union. The tripartite pact was designed to prevent any other countries from deciding to join the Allies, specifically Britain's old ally, the pesky United States of America. When war first broke out, American public opinion was strongly against joining in. In 1940, there was an election. The Republican candidate said, "I will not send any young Americans to die in Europe." And sitting President Franklin D. Roosevelt said, "I will also not send any young Americans to die in Europe. Unless I have to, then I might." And Roosevelt won. Churchill asked him to join the war, but Roosevelt said, "No can do, Winston. But you know what? Here, have some weapons. America began supplying the
This is by far the dumbest shit we've ever done in our entire life. Oh
Allies with
god,
food and
classic
munitions.
U.S. things, dude.
German U-boats were sinking thousands of Allied supply ships in the Atlantic, including American ones. If the Germans could sever Britain's supply line, the UK would starve. Throughout the war, the Allies had to come up with better technology to fight the U-boats. Improved radar, aircraft with longer range, better weaponry and convoy tactics. At one point, a man even called a meeting and said, "Pykrete. You take some wood, you take some ice, you put them together, you get pykrete." And then he pulled out a gun and shot some wood and it shattered. And then he shot some pykrete and the bullet ricocheted off it and hit someone else in the conference room.
What?
Then they tried to make a pykrete aircraft carrier, but that idea was scrapped because that's a really dumb idea. In the end, Alan Turing and his team of codebreakers cracked Germany's Enigma code, and the U-boats gradually became less and less of a threat. Back in Africa, Britain decided to push Italy out.
That
of
was
Egypt.
big.
Hey, that was pretty easy.
That was big.
So they kept going. Hitler realized he was going to have to finally step in and do something. He went to Bulgaria and Yugoslavia and said, "Hey, I'm going to move troops through you to get to Greece, so either join us or, be invaded." Bulgaria opted to join them. Yugoslavia opted to be invaded. Then Greece finally fell to the joint German-Italian invasion. The British had moved troops from North Africa to fight in Greece, which helped Rommel and his tank divisions push the British back to Egypt, and they could have kept going, but a small, mostly Australian force held out under siege for 8 months in Tobruk, denying the Germans a strategic port.
Oh, dude. There's a movie about this too. This was wild.
And disrupting their supply line. Despite having some success in the Middle East, the British didn't seem like any real threat for now. Hey, Soviet Union, look out! With 3 million troops, Hitler launched the largest ground invasion in history, and Stalin was far from ready. Both Churchill and Roosevelt had warned him of an impending attack, but he dug his head in the sand, and the Soviets didn't stand a chance. Germany made staggering progress, with huge encircling movements capturing mind-boggling numbers of Russian troops.
Oh yeah, there's a ton of movies about World War II.
300,000 at Smolensk, nearly 700,000 at Kiev, and again at Vyazma and Bryansk. Leningrad was put under a siege that would last an insufferable 4 years. The invasion of Russia had been Hitler's main ideological goal from the beginning, and his hatred for the ethnic peoples there was now unleashed in all its fury. The Eastern Front of the Second World War was brutal for all that endured it. The Germans were now inside of Moscow, and that's it. It's all over. But then it happened. It got cold. Stupid cold. Hitler had hoped the Soviets would give up before winter, but they kept fighting. His commanders came to him and said, "Can we please dig in for the winter and wait until spring?" "No, keep going." "But oil is literally freezing inside our vehicles." "That's fine, keep going." "We're having to leave the corpses of our frozen horses by the side of the road so we can still find our way in the snowdrift." "Perfectly normal, keep going." Hitler hadn't given his millions of men winter clothing and supplies because he thought he really should have won by now. Then, Stalin called in troops from the Siberian front, specially trained to fight in the extreme cold, and the Germans were no match. They were now being pushed back. They had no choice but to dig in and wait for winter to end. Germany's victories were staggering, and Japan was eager not to miss the victory bus. Their war in China had come to a standstill, but they wanted to expand their sphere of influence.
He really
and get
started
rid
to
of
lose it.
sweet raw materials. They began making plans to expand southward, but there was a problem. Southeast Asia was heavily colonized by America and Great Britain. It was also full of ocean. Ocean meant naval combat, and there was no way the Japanese Navy could stand up to the US and the UK. So they thought, wouldn't it be nice if we could destroy their navies before we begin our conquest?
Oh no, Japan, don't do it. Japan, don't do it. Japan.
And so it was. On December 7th, 1941, the
Japan!
Japanese launched a surprise air raid on the US Pacific Fleet at Pearl Harbor and inflicted a...
Okay, the movie about this one, though, is really sad, obviously. Because Pearl Harbor was not only a surprise, one of the biggest surprise attacks to the US, but we initially thought, like, there were soldiers there that initially saw Jap planes, like, zooming by and thought nothing of it. Literally nothing of it. They were just like, oh, that's cool. Like, that's a thing that's a thing. Like, there's pictures of before the Japanese air started dropping bombs. like before they started dropping bombs, and you can literally see the planes in that picture, like in the middle of there. Yeah, it's like horrifying how U.S. intelligence had heard of a Japanese attack but thought it was happening elsewhere. Didn't they also like? Wasn't Japan also like trying to intercept like a lot of communications to the U.S. as well to find out like when all the ships would be here? Because they flew. I think it was like they flew. There's a whole documentary about this. Like they flew low or something, and or flew high enough to like not be detected, something like that. Really slow. It took them like weeks, months to get to Pearl Harbor.
Huge amount of damage. They also attacked British colonies in Southeast Asia. Roosevelt had no choice but to declare war on Japan, and so did Churchill. Hitler then declared war on America, even though he totally didn't have to. The attack on Pearl Harbor seemed like a big Japanese victory, but they didn't attack any of the naval repair yards, fuel storage tanks, or the submarine base, meaning the Pacific Fleet would be up and running again pretty soon. In the meantime, though, the Japanese were able to begin their conquest. They took Guam, the Gilbert Islands, Wake Island, Hong Kong, and the Philippines. They forced Thailand to join them so they could march their troops through to Malaya. They swept through Singapore, North Borneo, the East Indies, New Guinea, the Solomons, and they were now threatening northern Australia and the borders of India. Japan's victory had been as staggering as the Germans, and it reinforced the Japanese idea that this was a divine war which they were destined to win. But their victories had been based on speed, not power, and power would eventually catch up with them.
Oh no.
For now, though, in all occupied nations, the people suffered. Persecution, forced labor, harsh punishments for anyone who spoke out against their occupiers. In Europe, the Nazis were rounding up ethnic minorities and other unwanted groups and individuals. In particular, millions of Jewish people would suffer through the terrible events of the Holocaust. Brave resistance movements rose up in defiance of their invaders, while the people held out for hope. And hope was coming. Winter was over, and
wild to think that if Japan hadn't attacked Pearl Harbor, the U.S. would likely never have joined the war. Yeah, no. If Japan literally did nothing, the U.S. would have never joined the war. Because, what's his face? Who was the president? He literally just mentioned it. I don't remember who the president was at the time. Who was president during World War II? I have so many tabs open. Roosevelt? Yeah, because Roosevelt was very anti-war, but unless he had to. Like, and that was a loss. How many soldiers? We're looking it up. Over 2,000.
Hitler could continue his push eastward, but this time he switched up his strategy. He wanted to focus on the south.
The entire Navy fleet, man.
In the Caucasus,
you just don't
and then invade the Caucasus and take all the oil.
Walk away from that and be like, that's fine. They could do whatever they want. No.
He rerouted the 4th
you enter the war
south early, leaving the 6th Army to complete the encircling movement alone. To do so, the 6th Army had to reach and take the key Soviet city of Stalingrad. The Russians defended it fiercely, and Stalingrad saw some of the harshest fighting of the entire war. The Soviets held up the German advance for 5 months as they battled in the war-torn city, which bought them valuable time. When the Germans had first launched their invasion a year earlier, the Soviets had moved their factories to the east. Those factories had been building a butt-ton of tanks and aircraft and getting the Soviet army up to scratch. Now, it was ready. Stalin gathered hhis new and improved forces around the city, and in an attack that resembled Hitler's own encirclement tactics, they began
was this his first defeat? Or was that... Did he already go over Hitler's first defeat? I don't remember.
Hitler's commanders came to him and said, hey, maybe we should retreat. But Hitler said, no, you stay.
Significant
the entire
defeat.
Army was trapped and had to surrender. With complete air superiority, the Soviets started pushing westward. For Stalin, it was a resounding victory. For Hitler, an absolute catastrophe. Things also weren't looking too good for Hitler elsewhere. With America now in the war, Allied bombing over German cities reached devastating levels. In Africa, the British had pushed Rommel back again, then they were pushed back again, and finally, after a decisive battle at El Alamein, and with American and British troops arriving in the west, the Germans and Italians were squeezed out of Africa. Japan was also already seeing its rapid success being turned around. They attempted to take the island of Midway, but the US Navy was ready for the attack, and they sank Japan's carrier. Actually, they sank a lot of them. It was a battle from which the Japanese Navy would never recover. British, Indian, and
Yep.
Chinese troops held the line in the
That happened.
of Burma, and the Japanese suffered losses in the Solomon Islands.
It's kind of crazy how quick the American industry built off war. Like, would we have gotten the same advancements today without World War II? Who's to say? But holy shit, were they quick.
And New Guinea. They began to realize they were not invincible. With the Axis out of Africa, the Allies had to decide their next move. Churchill still wanted to attack from the south, while the Americans preferred a full sea invasion in northern France. All right, said the Americans, we'll do it your way. Allied forces successfully landed in Sicily and began moving north. They also carried out bombing raids over Rome. The thing was, many of the people in Sicily had relatives living in America, and they greeted the American troops quite warmly.
I've read papers that suggest the war put technology and medicine 15 to 20 years ahead. Holy shit, that's crazy. That's actually wild.
With the war reaching home territory, most Italians just weren't that into it, and Mussolini was suddenly very unpopular. He was voted out by his own fascist Grand Council and was toppled from power. Italy immediately began negotiations for surrender. Hitler wasn't surprised and had already sent reinforcements southward. In an operation he ironically called Operation Axis, German troops quickly disarmed Italian troops in the north. The Allies continued fighting the Germans up through Italy, but then winter set in, meaning mud, and everything slowed to a halt. All right, said the Americans, let's do it our way as well. Germany had made itself a lot of enemies, and millions of Allied troops
Wikipedia screenshot because I'm lazy, lol. Holy fuck.
had been gathering in England as factories worked around the clock producing the war material needed for a super crazy massive the likes of which the world has never seen before invasion of Europe. The Germans knew an Allied invasion would come, but they didn't know where it would land. Thanks to Allied deception tactics, they thought there was a pretty good chance it would come at Calais, but the Allies were really going to land in Normandy because it was less fortified and the beaches were nicer. Under the careful planning of General Dwight D. Eisenhower, the invasion that had been long in the making was just about ready to go. Just one thing was preventing the launch: the British weather. For a short while, everyone sat around waiting for a decent day, and then it came. On the night of June 5th, over 1,000 bombers took off and raided coastline defenses, while paratroopers...
That's not true, right? They didn't just wait for the... Did they really just wait for the weather? I guess that kind of... I can see why. Oh, God.
Troopers were dropped inland in a bit of a chaotic operation, tasked with sabotaging defenses and capturing key bridges to stop any German reinforcements from reaching the beaches. Early the next morning, the barrage came, as Allied ships fired a huge number of shells at the German fortifications, and then the landings. The Americans at Utah and Omaha, the British at Golden Sword, and the Canadians at Juneau. It was a tremendous struggle with a great loss of life, particularly at Omaha, but the Allied troops captured the beaches and the
D-Day?
landings were a success. Then they began their movements inland. They took the port of Cherbourg and the city of Caen. The Americans moved south to capture Brittany. Then, in a massive
This is
disaster
D-Day,
for the
right?
Germans, British
This is what he's going
from
over?
the north and Americans from the south trapped the German 7th Army in a near wipeout encircling movement. In August, Allied troops landed in the south of France to little resistance. On one beach, all they found was a Frenchman handing out champagne. Paris was liberated, and the Germans were pushed
Big
out of
up the
France
UK.
as the Allies entered Belgium. In the Far East, the Allies started to push the Japanese out of Burma.
If the US hadn't joined the war, would the UK have been able to recover as quick? It would have taken a lot longer, I think. They were definitely cooking. But I think without us, you were lacking troops for quite some time. And a lot of the people in the UK were mad at Churchill because they wanted him to surrender. That is also true. If Hitler didn't have tunnel vision on Russia and just like went full on force into the UK, it would have been Dover.
Americans launched a two-pronged offensive.
If Germany didn't declare on US may not even be there. Well, it was no, they wouldn't have surrendered, but Hitler would have invaded, and it would have been much worse. Yeah, British resolve would have never surrendered it. Japan was the reason that we're in this war.
Offensive in the Pacific. In the south, General MacArthur led the push to liberate the Philippines, while General Nimitz oversaw the brutal island-hopping campaign. American forces had to make hard-fought landing after hard-fought landing on
Operation Poxboat. Wait, you should look at the U.S. Operation Postbox, I think it's called. It was the U.S. plan to invade the U.K. before Germany could capture it. Wait, what? The U.S. plan to invade the U.K.? Huh? Hold up. Side arc. Operation post box. Is it letterbox? I don't know what I'm looking for here. Is it this maybe? Side arc is looking at Vroom Vroom. Steak, F1 team, Kick Sauber, Steak, F1 team, Kick Sauber, F1 team. Yeah, it's literally just gonna be called Sauber. Nobody's gonna call it Steak F1 team, Kick Sauber. Who the fuck is ever going to say that? Sauber, no, Audi, yes. Until their name, it actually says Audi on it. Give me a sec, I'll find it. Okay, we'll go back to our main arc.
Steadily towards the Japanese mainland. The Japanese believed that the greatest thing a person could do was to die in battle, and the most dishonorable act was to surrender. As a result, they fought ferociously to the very end. And the closer the Americans got to the mainland, the more ferocious the resistance became. In February 1945, the Americans captured the island of Iwo Jima, and an intense firebombing campaign of Japan's wooden cities began. The Allies suffered some setbacks trying to liberate the Netherlands, but they were making progress and were now threatening the industrial heartland of Germany. Hitler's health, both mentally and physically, was rapidly deteriorating. Things were looking bad, and he was desperate. He said, "We need to turn this thing around, and I have just the trick. Remember a few years back when we blitzkrieged through the Ardennes and trapped the Allied forces in Belgium? Well, I'm going to do the exact same thing. Again." He gathered his forces and tried to pound them through the Ardennes. He used up the remainder of Germany's strength and resources, and he managed to create quite a nice bulge. He also trapped some American forces in the Belgian town of Bastogne. The Germans sent the trapped Americans a message saying surrender or be annihilated. When it was read out to the commanding officer, he said, "They want to surrender? No, sir, they want us to surrender." Nuts! And that's what they sent off as their official reply. General Patton's Third Army then...
No, it's not. No, it's fucking not. No, it's fucking not. It's not. It's not, right? It's not. No, it's fucking not. Wait, Twitch? I haven't read it yet. What? What did Twitch... Did they backpedal again? We're making some additional update. Oh, God. Oh, no. Here we go. Here we go again, boys. On Wednesday, we updated our sexual policy. Part of this update included changes to how we treat fictionalized nudity. For years, through user voice and its conversations, we heard from artists that our content policies were limiting. In making this update, we were trying to be responsive to these requests and allow the thriving artist community on Twitch and utilize it. Sorry, we're going on a side arc here. First, we want to make something clear that some streamers, in response to this update, created content that was in violation of our new policy. We worked quickly to remove that content and issue channel enforcements. However, what does that say? However, what? However, I'm blind. Hello? However, there was also a great deal of new content that was allowed under the updated policy. Much of the content created has been met with community concern. These are concerns we share upon reflection. We have decided that we went too far with this change. Really, Dan? Really? Upon reflection, we have decided that we went too far with this change. Really, Dan? Wow, dude. Digital deceptions of nudity present a unique challenge. AI can be used to create realistic images and can be hard to distinguish between digital art and photography. So effective today, we are rolling back the artistic nudity changes. Moving forward, depictions of real or fictional nudity won't be allowed on Twitch, regardless of the medium. This restriction does not apply to mature-rated games. You can find emote-specific standards for nudity and sexual content in the emote guideline. We aren't making other changes to the updated sexual content policy. Whoa. Hold up. Moving forward, depictions of real or fictional nudity won't be allowed on Twitch, regardless of the medium. Oh, that's... Oh. Oh. Oh, no. Oh. Does not apply to mature rated games. I mean, how do you get rid of that in mature rated games? The only way to get rid of that is to like literally remove every mature rated game, and that's getting rid of like 80% of games that are out there. Dude, this actually might be bad. Like a completely for, I can understand real, but even fictional nudity, the VTubers that were just literally drawing like nude images of themselves, of their VTubers, that's gone. The art section. That's wild. That's insane. Kick stonks now? No, it's not Kick. It's a completely different website that actually has... There were people drawing straight hentai on stream. Yeah, but that's part of fictional nudity. If you went through the ideals of the previous sexual content policy, right? That was allowed as long as you made sure it was 18 plus. That your stream, your tags had it. You weren't like, it wasn't completely, what was it? Like it wasn't a real person. Like there's like a few other things obvious with fictional nudity, right? This like completely, because like, for example, Nina was telling me this earlier yesterday, how like how much easier it is for an artist to get on stream and do their art on stream if they were to request something lewd in, or like mature in this sense, that had any type of nudity. You couldn't do this on stream and get the help of that, of like what you want it to look like. It's like, oh god, it's weird. It's weird. There's no gray now. There's no gray area. It's just no, you can't do it. It's done. That's it. It's like completely gone. Holy fuck. That's a huge backpedal. That's a massive backpedal. Exemptions and shit. I mean, the only exception here is the mature rated games. But how do you stop mature? Like, you can't. If you try to like get rid of mature rated games, you're gonna ruin a lot of your of your uh of your viewer base. You can't do it. Like, this would be literally impossible. Like, this doesn't stop somebody from loading up a game. This still doesn't technically stop somebody from loading up a game, and then like just staring at Booba the entire time. Technically speaking, this doesn't really stop them from doing that. This is crazy. Now it's clear. I mean, it was clear with change, but with lots of nudity. Yeah, this is like full on, completely like, yeah, you're no, that's it. We removed the fun. Wow. Wow. My learning to twerk streams. No. We removed the fun. Omega dance. That. Holy shit, dude. That's wild. Anyways, back to original arc.
Managed to break the siege from the southwest, and the Germans were pushed back. Hitler's last-ditch attempt had failed, and what followed was a total collapse of the German forces. The Allies pushed into Germany from both sides. The Soviet Union took Warsaw and kept pushing to Berlin. In his bunker, Hitler realized all hope was lost. Berlin fell, and with it, Hitler's dreams of a great German empire. Two of the Axis nations had been knocked out. One to go. The Americans began their assault on Okinawa, the last island before they would reach the Japanese mainland. The desperate Japanese fought hard, launching kamikaze attacks on the US ships. The citizens of Okinawa suffered through the terrible fighting, but in 2 months, the island was captured. The Allies now had to make a choice. Either continue the devastating struggle up the Japanese mainland, or they could try to coerce the Japanese into surrendering now. In July, the first successful atomic bomb test took place in New Mexico, and the destructive weapon was ready for use. America and the UK were also seeing the Soviet Union not so much liberating as occupying its captured territories, and so they wanted to put on a show of force. On August 6th, the A-bomb fell on Hiroshima. Then, on the 9th, Nagasaki. The cities were reduced to rubble, and for the people living there, it was a terrible fate. But for the Allies, it achieved their main aim. In September, the Emperor announced Japan's surrender, saying the war situation has developed not necessarily to Japan's advantage. After 6 years, war was finally over. The Allies occupied Japan for 8 years. The Emperor was allowed to keep his position, but General MacArthur made sure this picture was printed in the Japanese press to display to the Japanese people that their Emperor was not the divine, powerful being they had believed. Germany was divided between America, the UK, France, and the Soviet Union. In 1949, the Allied sectors were united into West Germany. The Second World War had been more terrible and destructive than the first. In its aftermath, two major superpowers with two very different ideologies had come out victorious, and the tension between the two of them would create a new kind of war. A very, very cold one.
God damn it. Oh, god damn it. I hate that misconception. What misconception? You can't find it. But it was built on War Plan Red. The U.S. planned to attack the British Empire post World War One. Wait, this is like actually real? That the Japanese pilots took off to kamikaze? Yeah. I'm pretty sure didn't they like parachute out or something? Or like didn't they like bomb them instead? It was either a bomb or they like dropped the plane on them. They didn't actually like full on kamikaze. Yeah, that was a last ditch effort to kamikaze. Like if they had no escape, they would immediately kamikaze and be like, "That's it, America dead." War Plan Red, 1939 on the outbreak. Would be necessary if for any reason the US and Britain went to war with each other. The plan assumed the British would initially have the upper hand by virtue of strength of the Royal Navy. Plan further assumed that Britain would probably use its base in Canada as a springboard. That is true. Holy fuck, I forgot about their base in Canada. They basically own like a lot of Canada because of British Canadian uh the British Canadian shit that was going on. And then like if Britain had actually been conquered uh and defeated somehow, like would their troops in Canada actually have taken over? Wasn't Canada a colony at that point? No, Canada was part of British. It was like British Canada, sort of. I don't think it was yet. I don't think it was like a colony. I mean, it's why they get most of their like. Did I look at a AOC input for today? No, I did not, because I'm not at my laptop. I should. I don't think I can. Um, no, I can't without logging in, and I don't want to log in because that's my actual email. And I don't know what I'm clicking to accidentally not like leak it. Check flag. Canada's flag. What about Canada's flag? What? It's just a maple leaf. I don't know what you're talking about, man. Oh, during World War II. Oops. Ah, yeah. So yeah, part of the British Empire during World War II. That's why like if 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 the UK actually like look at that. Look at that. Just right here on its own, like if the UK actually got captured and had to surrender, this would technically be like British British rule. And they had like I think a few. I don't think it was just one. I think it was like two or three. Um, different different what's it called, bases in Canada. I thought they had more than one, but like yeah, the that amount of power plus the British Army, like dude, the Royal Navy at the time, these guys were fucking insane. We didn't really have like I bet you during this time we didn't even have like a full on army. We didn't have anything. We just came out of World War One. We're like wounded. Probably have jack shit of an army. We would have been decimated in like a week at best.
Like it would have been Jover. Would have been Jover.
God, this is funny, man. This is insane. I told you, Nino, by the way. I told you that Twitch wasn't going to steal any of those viewers from that website you were telling me about. They immediately backpedaled so hard that they revoked everything. They revoked it all, dude. Fucking insane. Like, it's gone. It's fucking wild, dude. It's fucking wild. They went so far back that we're even further back than we started. So true and real and based. Chat, I want you to realize that this started all from like here. This started because of the ISS. I want you to realize this entire fucking ramble was caused because of the ISS. Oh my god. We went on a fucking ride, dude. We were looking at space stations, and then we were talking about For All Mankind, and then we were talking about Soviet Union, and then we were talking about the Soviet Afghan War. We were talking about freaking Apollo 11. We were talking about Neville Chamberlain and how fucking god awful he was. We were talking about the swastika and its original's actual like interpretation. We haven't even covered fascist Italy. This is probably this must be an insanely wild arc. Holy fuck. That's got to be crazy, man. Am I about to watch more Oversimplified?
The year is 1917. Fighting rages on the Eastern Front of the First World War. Both Germany and Russia are on the brink of collapse. Soldier, I need you to bring me this man. Got it. Found him, sir. What? No, not Lenin. Lenin, the Russian communist. What? Why would I need a beetle? Lenin, the Russian communist. He was exiled to Switzerland. You know what? I'll do it myself. Who wants to start a revolution? The Germans put Lenin on a train and sent him all the way back to Russia, hoping he and his mates would create an internal crisis. And create an internal crisis they did. The government was overthrown, and Lenin was in charge. He immediately pulled out of the First World War, made the country communist, started a 3-year-long civil war, got shot, broke the economy, caused a famine, and then he died. On his deathbed he said, "Hey man, tell whoever's in charge of giving people jobs not to let that jerk Stalin become the next leader. By the way, who did I put in charge of giving people jobs? That would be Stalin, sir." Stalin was a rising force in the Communist Party. He still had some opponents, but conveniently, all of them were arrested or disappeared. So that was lucky. And so Stalin took over. He implemented his 5-year plan,
lucky.
which transformed the country from an agriculture
Super lucky, right, guys?
And like Lenin before him, he reigned with terror. Anyone who dared criticize or oppose him would either be killed or left to rot in the horrendous Soviet.
I need to watch
Then a
this.
short man with a silly mustache tried to take over the world,
And
pushed the
this.
Russians all the way to Moscow, and then the Russians, with some help from their faithful ally, the Winter, punched them all the way back to Berlin. At this point, being allies, America, the UK, and the Soviet Union were good chums. They held a couple of conferences near the end of the war to decide what would happen next. Hey Stalin, after all your trials and tribulation, you must be pretty happy to be standing here in Berlin. Tsar Alexander made it all the way to Paris. Just give me a second. Hey man, I think something's up with Stalin. I know, right? What should we do? Shall I tell him about the bomb? Yeah, tell him about the bomb. That will scare him. So, we got this crazy new big A-bomb that can destroy an entire city in one go. Yes, my spies told me already. Oh wait, I meant to act surprised. Wow, that's amazing. He already knew. How? Does the A stand for atomic or ass? Then America dropped their big A-bomb on Japan, and World War II officially came to an end. Hooray, we won! Okay, so now it's time to establish the New World Order. Stalin, you're in charge of Eastern Europe. Now, we want you to let them all hold elections. Oh yes, of course, elections. And these elections will be free and fair, right? Oh yes, certainly, free and fair. Definitely free and fair. Communist, 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 communist. If that's not free and fair, I don't know what is. Throughout Eastern Europe, several puppet governments were established as a buffer zone between the USSR and the West, with Churchill proclaiming an Iron Curtain had descended across the continent. The relationship between the old allies was deteriorating fast. Over the next few years, the British intervened in the Greek Civil War to prevent a communist takeover. In Turkey, the Russians began demanding more control of Turkey's sea access routes, which prompted the
very
US to send
loose
their largest
interpretation.
battleship to Turkey for a friendly visit. After World War II, Iran was now occupied by both the Soviet.
I mean, a lot of this history is very quickly thrown together. That's why it's oversimplified.
And the British, with an agreement to both pull out once the war was over. The British pulled out. Stalin was like, you know what? I think I might stick around. All in favor of kicking Russia out of Iran? You want to know something? You guys suck. Pressure from the UN forced the Soviets to leave, and with the establishment of NATO, the Soviets had no doubt that the West was out to encircle and destroy them. And America announced the Truman Doctrine, in which they basically said, those guys are not cool, cannot be trusted, and we will do everything we can to prevent the spread of communism around the world. Many viewed this moment as the official declaration of the Cold War. Back in Europe, everyone was living in a post-apocalyptic void.
Was it ever explained why they called it the Cold War? Like, is that a thing? What a week on Twitch. Oh, God.
Brought on by the Second World War. Cities reduced to rubble, not enough food. It was terrible. This is great. The more they suffered, the more likely it is they'll turn to communism. Dude, you're really messed up. What's wrong with you? My father used to punish me severely. America realized what was going on and quickly made a move. Under the Marshall Plan, they sent $12 billion to Western Europe for its economic recovery. The countries of Stalin's
That was
Eastern
true.
Bloc looked on with envy. Hey, Czechoslovakia, you want to come get some economic aid? Yeah, but I have to check with my mom first. Sorry, America. I can't come. This was a full-on economic battle raging between capitalism and communism in Europe. If the Western nations developed faster and better than the East, that would be
what the fuck was that?
Eastern Bloc looked on with envy. Hey, Czechoslovakia, you want to come get some economic aid? Yeah, but I have to check with my mom first.
What the fuck is this animation?
Sorry, America. I can't come.
Because Russia is code. Pepe laugh. It's actually because there was no direct military fighting. Wasn't open war because it wasn't that heated. That one guy is mad at me. Wait, what did the one guy say? Also, hi, Butter. How are you? Where's one guy mad at you? In general? In voice chat? Huh? What did I miss? Oh, Snapchat? Oh, God.
This was a
You're doing good. That's good to hear.
full-on economic battle raging between capitalism
What you been up to, Butter? Haven't seen you in a while.
and communism in Europe. If the Western nations developed faster and better than the East, that would be a defeat for Stalin. So he set up his own rival economic recovery plan, which he called Comecon, and he also set up Cominform, which gave him more political control over the Eastern Bloc. But nowhere did this economic battle rage harder than in the city of Berlin. Caught over 100 miles behind Soviet lines, the city had been divided up between the Allies, and the western segments were still under Western control. East Berliners could travel freely to West Berlin, see the economic prosperity, and think, maybe this communism thing ain't so great after all. I'm gonna have fun tonight. You're home late. Oh, Stalin. I was just out with my friends. Friends? You stink of capitalism! You're out engaging in imperialist debauchery again! I swear, Ivan, I can't keep doing this. Stalin wanted the West out.
The fuck? These animations are something else. Been doing good working playing Minecraft together. Wait. Playing Minecraft? Putting together a Flash server? With a PSQL DPU. Why? I sent him a video of me chugging on a beer. He's mad because I shaved my beard, not fully, but I'm neat now. He called me a traitor, sad cat. Oh, God.
So he said, hey, guess what? I'm blockading
I'm
all
so
of your
sorry,
supply
Matt.
routes to West Berlin. What are you gonna do about it? I suppose we'll just fly the supplies in.
That happened? What the fuck? That's wild.
Alright, Truman. You in this round. The Berlin airlift was an incredible undertaking and a major success for the Western Allies, and Stalin ended his blockade of West Berlin. His aggressive actions worried the West, but not as much as this did. The Soviet Union had developed their very own atomic bomb. The USA no longer had a nuclear monopoly. The world now knew that if a major war broke out between the two superpowers, it would be more destructive than anyone could imagine. So it was comforting when Stalin came out and said that war between the Soviet Union and the West was unlikely. Oh, wait, inevitable. He said it was inevitable. Hey, you know who I haven't checked in on in a while? My good friend China. Whoa, what happened to you? What happened to them was a full-blown civil war that had been going on since 1927. The People's Liberation Army, under the leadership of Mao Zedong, successfully defeated the Republic of China, who fled to Taiwan. The now communist China and the Soviet Union signed a mutual defense treaty. This was terrible news for the West. But wait, there's more. After the Second World War, Korea was divided along the 38th parallel. In the north, the Soviets set up a communist regime. In the south, America set up an anti-communist regime.
Oh, no.
Both were led by very sweet-looking old men, but don't let that deceive you. They were both ruthless dictators, and both dreamed of reuniting Korea under their own regime. Now that he had the bomb, Stalin was feeling a little more cocky, and he finally gave Kim permission to attack. The North launched a surprise invasion of the South on June 25, 1950. With Soviet aid, the North Koreans steamrolled through, taking Seoul in just 3 days and replacing one ruthless dictator with another. The UN were freaking out and quickly created an emergency force made up of troops from 16 countries to defend the South. The West still held
Wait.
and quickly created an emergency force made up of troops from 16
Oh, no. Look at them. They're freaking tiny down there. Oh no. Damn, 1950. That's when Nino was born.
Countries to defend the south. The West still held Busan and made landings at Incheon near Seoul. They pushed the North Koreans out of Seoul, replacing the ruthless dictator that had replaced the first ruthless dictator with the same ruthless dictator that had previously been replaced by the new ruthless dictator. And the West then continued all the way up the Korean peninsula. At this point, China was getting worried that the UN may just keep going. The US had sent this guy to lead the operation. After winning the Pacific theater of World War II, General Douglas MacArthur's head was big and his balls were bigger. He reassured President Truman that there was absolutely no way at all that the Chinese would ever get involved. Meanwhile, 500,000 Chinese troops were crossing into Korea. Nuke 'em. No. Nuke 'em. No. Ah, come on. You're fired. The US considered the nuclear option, but now that the Soviets also had the bomb, they didn't want to risk all-out global destruction. The communists pushed the West right back almost to the exact same spot they had all started from, and they ended up in a stalemate, where they remained until both sides finally agreed to work towards a peace settlement in 2018. Back in America, Americans decided they wanted a new
2018? Holy fuck.
president who would be tough on communism, so they elected famed World War II General Eisenhower, who is really hard to draw. It's 1953. Hey Stalin, how you doing? Oh, he's dead. He had a cerebral hemorrhage and his reign of terror kinda came back to bite him in the ass, because he had imprisoned all of his best doctors, and those that were left were too terrified to treat him. The new leader...
Really? Bruh.
Nikita Khrushchev called a meeting and said, "Hey guys, you know how Stalin was imprisoning and murdering us all for doing basically nothing? Yeah, he was kind of a jerk. I'm really not sure how this is news to you." Khrushchev went on a campaign of de-Stalinization. Statues of Stalin were taken down, Stalingrad was renamed, and Khrushchev announced that he wanted the Soviet people to be happy and would allow greater freedom in the Soviet Union. So how did that work out? Well, an uprising in East Germany was brutally suppressed, a revolution in Hungary was brutally suppressed, and demonstrations in Poland were brutally suppressed. Although he did finally allow some mild reforms. Back in the Soviet Union, he permitted more cultural expression, but then began banning stuff based on his own personal taste. Modern art looks like a child urinated on a canvas. Banned. Jazz music sounds like the feeling of needing to fart. Banned. Your poetry is really depressing. How could anyone in the Soviet Union be depressed? You're banned. Khrushchev wanted the Soviet people to be happy, but not like that. Or that. Or that. Young people began enjoying abhorrent Western pop culture. Son, remove that disgusting imperialist apparel at once. Shut up, Dad. You can't tell me what to do. Well, would you look at that? Turns out he can tell me what to do.
Oh shit.
Initially liked the cut of Khrushchev's jib, but world events soon soured relations even more. The two sides were spying on each other a whole lot throughout the Cold War. The KGB had spies and informants in nearly every aspect of Western life and government, so much so that whenever the US tried to send spies into the Soviet Union, the KGB were usually ready to arrest them on the spot. Members of the Manhattan Project aided the Soviet Union in acquiring the bomb. Some American officials believed they were on the wrong side. I'll sell you 3 secrets for $5 million. Okay. Go ahead. The Allies are digging a tunnel under East Berlin to tap your communications. There's an American agent living at this address in Moscow, and sometimes, when I'm home alone, I like to put on my wife's dresses, sit in the corner, and cry for hours. Very interesting. In America, fear took hold during the Red Scare and the McCarthy trials. American values imploded as fear of communism collided with freedom of thought and expression, and communist kinda became a buzzword thrown around to describe anything people didn't like. Hollywood? Communist. Your next door neighbor's dog? Communist. When the grocery store cashier asks if you need a bag when you clearly can't carry 10 tubs of Baconaise in your hands, communist. But one area in particular where the US had an edge over the Soviet Union was in its espionage technology.
They killed the art meta while I was sleeping? No! This is a good thing, Josh. Ban the booba!
In particular, U-2 spy planes flew across Russia.
It's not a good thing.
From the skies. There was a nasty incident in 1960 though, when one was shot down and Khrushchev was furious. Who the hell is this? He's a high-altitude weather enthusiast who flew off course. Okay, that sounds plausible. Wait a minute. Why does he have a gun and a poison needle? Because he's a very naughty high-altitude weather enthusiast. But much to America's concern, the Soviet Union appeared to be ahead in the space.
Fuck that. I'm serious. It is not a good thing. I have boomer claw poggies. I like boobs and it's not on my gaming platform. This is not the place where I'm gonna be honest.
Russia launched the world's first satellite, and then they actually sent a man into space. Even worse, there also appeared to be a missile gap in the Soviets' favor, and Khrushchev was so confident that he even allowed the US to set up a technology exhibit in Moscow, attended by a certain Vice President Richard Nixon. Check this out. We have color TV. Yes, but we've been to space and can obliterate you with our massive nuclear arsenal. Check out this vegetable peeler. Tensions increased further when both sides upgraded their atomic bombs to hydrogen bombs. And after West Germany was allowed to join NATO in 1955, Khrushchev set up the Defensive Warsaw Pact, strengthening the military ties between the Soviet Union and its satellite states. In 1960, Americans decided they wanted a new president who would be tough on communism, so they elected John F. Kennedy. The Soviet Union was advancing its technology, but it
Oh no.
was also bleeding its coffers dry, and all of the money was going towards the military, not the people. Life under communism was still as hard as ever, and Berlin remained a thorn in the Soviet side. The contrast between the economically prosperous West and the struggling East was clearer day by day, and East Berliners were still able to freely travel to the West. Now, many of them were deciding to stay there. Millions defected to West Germany via West Berlin, causing Eastern factories to lose workers and taking a heavy toll on the economy. Soviet leaders decided this couldn't continue any longer. First, Khrushchev tried this: leave West Berlin, or else. Or else what? Or else, I'll be really mad at you. Yeah, no, we're gonna stay. Listen, man, West Berlin is ours, East Berlin is yours. That's just how it is. Kennedy felt pretty good about his show of American resolve. But wait a second, did you catch that? Let's replay it.
East Berlin is yours.
Uh-oh, Kennedy just told Khrushchev that the USA wouldn't interfere in what the Soviets did with their section of Berlin, so Khrushchev came up with a new idea. We're gonna build a wall, and it's gonna be a big, beautiful wall, and it's gonna keep out all the Mexicans. No, sir, that's wrong. It's gonna keep in these Berliners. Oh, sorry, it's gonna keep in all the Mexicans. On August 13th, 1961, Berliners woke up to find their city divided into two, with barbed wire
Jesus
and guards
Christ.
blocking the border between East and West. Over time, a wall was constructed throughout the city. Families were torn apart. Thousands would risk their lives
Hope today's AOC is easy for Waffle. Think he's regretting some choices from last night. Keck W. Yep, there are lots of things that should have been dealt with before that TOS change first. Oh yeah, for sure.
escaping over the wall, and hundreds would die trying. To the despair of Berliners, the West were unable to do anything about it, but the wall did put on full display the failure of the communist system. As Kennedy said, democracy is not perfect, but we have never had to put a wall.
When's the next video? Uncool. No more economic downturn. Be yourself. Upload Move videos.
Up to keep our people in. As part of the agreement between the two sides, U.S. diplomats were still allowed to travel to East Berlin, but suddenly, East Berlin crossing guards started giving them the business, and Kennedy was like, nah-uh. In October, the U.S. rolled tanks up to the crossing point at Checkpoint Charlie as a show of strength. The Soviets did the same, and the two were in a standoff. They stayed like that for 16 hours.
Check my DMs. Give me a second.
Armageddon. Thankfully, though, Kennedy called Khrushchev directly and was like, hey man, this is getting way too hot. How about you back your tanks up by an inch and we'll do the same? Sounds good. Okay, how about you back your tanks up by another inch and we'll follow suit? Alright, hey, you want to do another inch? And they both very slowly inched away from the apocalypse. Phew, let's hope that's the biggest crisis of my presidency. It wasn't.
Oh no. Oh no. It keeps going. Let Josh know this, please. What am I letting Josh know? What? You didn't send me anything. I don't see anything, Nino. What are you talking about? What am I letting Josh know? Huh? What is this? I don't know what that means. Nina says you're a poo-poo head, Josh. You have a question? What's your question? Actually true. Will there be DSP today? Will there be... What is this? table shows the score of everyone in the database. Wait, what? What is this for? Been doing good, working, playing MC, putting together a Flash server with. Is that what you were saying? Is this the Flash server that you were saying? Is it too order? Is it too? Is it too early to order pizza? No, it's never too early. What is this?
Okay, so here's the Earth. Chilling. Damn, that is a sweet Earth, you might say. Wrong. Alright, ruling out the ice caps melting, meteors becoming crashed into us, the ozone layer leaving, and the sun exploding, we're definitely going to blow ourselves up. Okay, so basically, we've got China, France, India, Israel, Pakistan, Russia, the UK, and us with nukes.
Why is this?
We've got about 2,600
Why
more
is
than
it only
anybody else.
360p?
Whatever. Anyway, one day we decide those Chinese sons of a bitches are going down. So we launch a nuke at China. While it's on its way, China's like, shit, who the fuck is shooting us? Oh well, fire missiles. Then France is like, shit guys, we got the missiles, they are coming, fire our shit. But I'm let tired. Well, have a nap, then fire the missiles. Meanwhile, Australia is down there like, WCF, mates? India, Israel, and Pakistan launched their shit, so now we've got missiles flying everywhere, passing each other. Russia's like, ah, motherland! Then England's like, about that time, eh, chaps? Righto. So now the US is like, fuck, we're dumbasses. Canada's like, what's going on, eh? Australia's still like, WTF? Mars is laughing at us, and some huge meteor's like, well, fuck that. So, now we've got nuclear winter. Everyone's dead except Australia. And they're still like, WTF? But they'll be dead soon. Fucking kangaroos. But, assuming we don't blow ourselves up, us Californians just have to worry about California breaking off from the United States to go hang with Hawaii. Alaska can come too.
That's
the end!
That's like an actual thing that might actually happen. What the fuck did I just watch? What the fuck did I just watch? What? You watched worse? I mean, I'm literally watching the Cold War. Look how many. This is the most tabs I've ever had open in my entire life. The peak of Newgrounds? The website? What's your question? Can I answer that last question? I did, didn't I? I said there's probably not going to be any DSP. Do you see what I'm doing right now? Do you think this is ever going to become anything else but a just chatting stream? I have no reason to play DSP. From what I'm seeing from their changelog, the only thing that they added that is not part of having to fight an enemy is this. At best. That's it. This is not a big update. There's some cool stuff down here, yeah. It is, I've never liked the idea of AI in a factory game. Like, it never made sense to me in a factory game. They already have a patch note out. Like, it's why I stopped playing with biters in Factorio. Tomorrow, Christmas Convoy 2023, the most festive convoy of the year. Tomorrow at 9 UTC, we start our 12-hour Christmas 12-hour Christmas convoy, where we will raise funds for direct relief. Route 1 starts at 9 UTC from Hanover to Paris. Route 2 starts at 11:30 from Paris to Milano. Route 3 starts at 1600 UTC from Milano to Truckers MP HQ. And Route 4 starts at 1830 UTC from Truckers MP HQ to Dugvapils? That's insane. That's insane. 12 hours? Holy. This is an ETS, by the way, not ATS, but obviously. Because Paris is not an ATS.
For anyone who
For now. I would join, but I don't have all the DLCs. It doesn't matter. It's not ATS. I have all the DLCs in ETS, but I don't think I'm gonna do this. 12 hours. This is really early, and it's like sudden to tomorrow. 9 UTC. What's 9 UTC? 4 in the fucking... Yeah, no, that's not happening, bro. That ain't happening.
thinks recent U.S.
Anyways,
history
back
has never
to
been as crazy
ARC.
as it is right now. Allow me to present to you the 1960s. Extreme cultural division, major political assassinations, and the closest the world has ever come to nuclear apocalypse. Shocked by the CIA's intrusive methods for putting down socialism in Latin America, a certain Fidel Castro met with a certain Che Guevara in a bar in Mexico City, and the two of them decided they should grow some awesome beards and overthrow the Cuban government, which is exactly what they did. Cuba had been America's summer playground, and America didn't like seeing a communist regime being set up in its own backyard. So the US immediately began training up Cuban exiles to invade Cuba and overthrow Castro. However, as the day of the operation came closer, Kennedy wanted to conceal any US involvement in the plan, so he massively scaled back American air support, and as a result, the Bay of Pigs invasion was a humiliating defeat for America. But Castro felt there was still an impending US threat to his regime. Meanwhile, in the Soviet Union, Khrushchev had a lot of medium-range nuclear missiles that couldn't reach America, but they could if they were positioned, say, on an exotic Caribbean island off the coast of Florida. Hey, I'm a communist who hates America. You're a communist who hates America. You know what that means? We should fall in love. I was just gonna suggest you set your missiles up in Cuba. Oh, no, you're right. That's a better idea. Be still, my beating heart. On October 14th, 1962, a U-2 spy plane over Cuba noticed something strange. Sir, you need to look at this photograph. You're right. That's the cutest dog I've ever seen. Sir, I was referring more to the Soviet missiles. America freaked out as they realized what was going on. They were completely vulnerable, and they had to act fast. They knew that airstrikes or an invasion of Cuba would likely mean nuclear war with the Soviet Union. So Kennedy came up with another idea, a blockade. The US Navy announced it would stop and search any Soviet ships heading to Cuba, and would sink any that did not comply. In response, the Soviet put its military into full combat readiness. The US did the same, and began drawing up plans for an attack on Cuba. Things were escalating fast, and both superpowers were getting ready.
Did that just say
an
no?
attack on
Wrong way, not yet. This way. Not yet. Yet.
Cuba. Things were escalating fast, and both superpowers were getting ready for World War III. Emergency communications between the two sides broke down as Khrushchev rejected Kennedy's demands for the missiles to be removed. And for the first time in history, U.S. Strategic Air Command moved to DEFCON 2. DEFCON 1 means nuclear war. The Soviets shot down a U-2 spy plane over Cuba. A Soviet nuclear submarine in the Caribbean mistakenly believed war had already broken out, and two of the senior officers gave the go-ahead to fire its nuclear torpedo. Thankfully, the third senior officer, this beautiful man, refused to authorize the decision.
the US finalized its preparations, and I kid you not, the day before the US were set to decide the day and time for the Cuban invasion, Khrushchev was like, hey, you know if you just removed your missiles from Turkey, we'd remove ours from Cuba? Yeah, that sounds good to me. It was a bit more complicated than that, but at the last second, the two sides finally came to an agreement. Soviet missiles were shipped out of Cuba, and the world breathed one gigantic sigh of relief, except for one guy, who was bloody livid. Phew! Let's hope that's the biggest crisis of my presidency. Unfortunately for him, his presidency was to end with one. Having nearly blown up the planet, a few changes were made. First, the superpowers agreed to a limited test ban treaty. Secondly, the Soviets ousted Khrushchev and replaced him with Leonid Brezhnev, who was a kisser. He liked to kiss. Both sides were deeply concerned at the prospect of nuclear war, but still, the arms race raged on throughout the 60s and 70s. US intelligence worked out that the Soviets' nuclear arsenal was not as powerful as they previously thought, but in fact, it was America that held the advantage. ABMs and MIRVs were developed, and the doctrine of MAD. If both sides knew they would be completely destroyed by a nuclear war, neither would risk starting one. But even without war, the world was already feeling the effects of nuclear weapons. In 1966, above the pleasant town of Palomares in Spain, a US bomber collided with a tank in mid-air, and 4 hydrogen bombs fell and landed near the town below. It hasn't exploded, so I'm sure everything's fine. Whoa, boy. Hey, I wouldn't eat that if I were you. Okay. What were you gonna do today? Go for a swim? Yeah, I wouldn't. Are you breathing right now? Yeah, I wouldn't. It took the Americans 2.5 months to find one of the bombs, which had gone missing in the ocean. This was the 14th time America had lost a nuclear bomb since 1950. Nobody knows how many bombs the Soviet Union lost. So sleep well tonight.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Vice President Lyndon B. Johnson took over, and he inherited a developing crisis in the East, Vietnam. Back in the 50s, the Vietnamese had kicked their French colonizers out once and for all, and the country was divided into two. In the north, a communist regime, and in the south, an anti-communist regime. Very sweet-looking old men, but don't let that deceive you.
Not the most hated war in the world.
Of reuniting Vietnam under their own regime. So the North established the National Liberation Front, also known as the Viet Cong, to carry out a campaign of guerrilla warfare in the South with Soviet support. The US sent advisors to help train the South Vietnamese to deal with the threat, but President Diem's brutal policies pushed more and more South Vietnamese to support the Viet Cong. And over the next decade, the situation escalated to a breaking point. America
most hated, you mean US
South
hated.
Vietnam fell to communism.
Yeah.
Would Cambodia be next? Then Laos? Thailand? Burma? India? LBJ had to make a choice between losing South Vietnam or sending in the troops. And so in they went. From 1965, America found itself in a war unlike anything in
US equals world, the underscore house.
Spot the Viet Cong soldier. Did you see him? Of course not. That's because millions of young American men were drafted and sent to fight a ruthless enemy who used the thick jungle as its shield. It was nearly impossible to tell where the enemy was, or worse, who it was. And as a result, the civilian population got caught up in the brutal crossfire. The city of Saigon found itself under regular attack, and America launched a bombing campaign in the north during Operation Rolling Thunder. The Viet Cong used the Ho Chi Minh Trail running through Laos and Cambodia to supply the campaign. It was a long and brutal war, and I could never do it justice in this video. But in terms of the Cold War, Vietnam was probably the biggest of many, many global conflicts that signaled a turning point. Under the threat of nuclear war, the two superpowers began working to make their relationship more constructive, and as a result, their ideological battle shifted away from the potential of direct conflict and more towards attempting to influence smaller proxy wars around the world. In the Middle East, the Soviet Union provided aid against Israel during the Six-Day War, and then again when the US backed Israel during the Yom Kippur War. In Africa, the Angolan Civil War saw US-supported South Africans fighting Soviet-supported Cubans. In the conflict between Somalia and Ethiopia, the superpowers interestingly switched sides as regimes changed, and the US continued fighting the spread of communism in its own backyard, funding the famous Contra groups to fight the socialist junta in Nicaragua. These
not the
proxy
Contra.
wars were fierce enough to begin with, but superpower intervention amplified the destruction and created alarming levels of human suffering throughout the Third World. And in Vietnam, that human suffering was all being broadcast back home via good old television. Going into the late 60s, America was a changing nation. This became this. This became this. And this became this. The new slogan that was taking root: make love, not war. The majority of Americans did not
Not the
agree with
Jenny in the
the
background.
Vietnam War. And in 1968, a silent majority elected law and order candidate Richard Nixon. As the Vietnam War appeared to be increasingly
Oh no. Oh no. Oh no. Oh no.
unwinnable, and public opinion turning increasingly sour, Nixon made the decision to begin bringing the troops home and ended U.S. involvement in Vietnam by 1973. 2 years later, the South fell. The Cold War was now taking its toll on both superpowers. In Russia, a huge percentage of the budget was still going to the military. People were still hungry, and they just didn't have access to the same lifestyle and goods as the West. And what did they have to show for it? They weren't even winning the space race anymore. Both sides needed to reduce spending in order to rescue their economies, and so both welcomed with open arms an easing of hostilities, otherwise known as détente. To improve relations, Nixon became the first U.S. president to visit Moscow in 1972, and Brezhnev returned the gesture a year later. A number of treaties were signed, including the 1972 SALT Agreement that limited nuclear weapons. Relations with China were even improving via ping-pong diplomacy when the U.S. table tennis team went on a tour of the People's Republic. However, internally, China was still pushing anti-capitalist propaganda, which led to some mixed messages. Nixon
We love you, American pigs.
and it was a barrel of laughs.
Today, the president walks among priceless treasures from China's golden age. Among them, a pair of ear stoppers used by the emperor to keep from hearing criticism.
Put the stopper into his ears so that he couldn't hear the criticism.
Give me a pair.
他是不是给我一对啊？
Jesus Christ.
Everything was going great for Nixon, until it was uncovered that back home he was being a very naughty boy and violating constitutional protocol. I'm
Yikes.
announcing today my resignation as president, and I'm passing the office to my vice president, Gerald Ford. Wow, you mean in America the people can actually remove their leader when he breaks the law? Why not just rule by force? Where's the corruption? And my first act as president is to pardon Nixon. Ah, there it is. After the whole fiasco, Americans decided what
That was real. That happened. And it was a big yikes.
they really wanted was just a nice, safe guy who wouldn't cheat on them. So they elected Jimmy Carter, and the two sides met in Vienna where they signed yet another strategic arms limitation treaty. It's an honor, Premier Brezhnev. Likewise, President Carter. Please don't do that. But that's not to say there was no longer any tension between the two sides, because there was. Heaps of it. Once again, the Soviet Union put down further attempts at reform and rebellion in the Eastern Bloc. The Euro missile crisis saw new and improved classes of intermediate-range missiles being deployed in Europe. In 1979, the Soviets thought it would be a good idea if they had their own Vietnam and invaded Afghanistan to prevent a US-sponsored Islamic insurgency. And in response to these various crises, Olympic Games were boycotted. Conservatives were concerned that US policy had become too soft, and in 1980,
That also happened. The boycott of the Olympic Games was huge.
they decided they
Like,
They wanted
huge.
a president who would be tough on communism, so they elected Ronald Reagan.
Oh
And
no.
Reagan came in guns blazing. Concerned at the Soviet Union's human rights violations, he made a speech calling them an evil empire. And he also wanted to renew the arms race using technological advances in computing and lasers. He came up with the Space Defense Initiative, also known as Star Wars, which was basically a big defensive anti-nuke shield around the country. But a lot of people thought it was a pretty dumb idea. The Soviet Union perceived this shift in rhetoric as the USA getting ready for war, and they were feeling especially threatened as their relationship with their communist ally China had broken down. Relations took
Two more videos for you to watch?
when
Oh
the
god.
Soviets shot down a Korean airliner that had strayed into
It's okay, I need to stay awake
It
anyways.
looked like the world was going right back to mid-20th century Cold War tension. But then Brezhnev got really old and died and was replaced by this guy who was really old and died and was replaced by this guy who was really old and died, and he was replaced by Mikhail Gorbachev. Coming into office in 1985, he was the real game changer. His philosophy differed a lot from previous Soviet leaders. He felt that the reason the Soviet system and economy was struggling was that it didn't allow the Soviet people to find satisfaction in their work, because they weren't allowed to speak freely and lived in fear. Gorbachev wanted the Soviet people to be happy, but unlike previous Soviet leaders, he actually made the change happen. Within the first couple of years, he began the political movement for more openness and transparency, and the restructuring of the Soviet political and economic systems. And change very quickly took effect. People could criticize the government, they could enjoy Western pop culture, the media interviewed Margaret Thatcher, but most importantly, the Soviet people could now enjoy Pizza Hut. All hail to Gorbachev. He also knew that the arms race needed to end in order to rescue the Soviet
Oh, no.
economy, and a positive relationship
Oh,
with the
no.
West must
Here he
be
comes.
established. Constructive
Oh,
dialogue
no.
reopened and resulted in the INF Treaty, which saw all intermediate-range missiles eliminated, which was huge. Reagan's tone towards the Soviet Union began to soften, and things were looking up. But what would these reforms mean for the Eastern Bloc? For decades, the Soviets had been brutally suppressing any attempt at change. Now, would they be allowed? And that was the exact question on Hungary's lips when the Prime Minister visited Moscow. Gorbachev's response: he didn't necessarily agree with the reforms, but he wouldn't stop them either. He was prepared to let the Eastern Bloc choose its own future. This was massive, and the Hungarian leaders began planning free, multi-party elections. Poland followed suit and also held elections in June. The anti-Soviet party Solidarity won 99 out of 100 seats in the Senate. But not just that. In Hungary, the barbed wire border between East and West was removed. The Iron Curtain was unraveling. But not all Eastern Bloc leaders were happy. Notably, East Germany was still ruled by a hardline Stalinist, Erich Honecker, and many East Germans were still eager to get out. They had been trapped by the Berlin Wall, but now they were doing the math. If they could travel to Hungary, and Hungary's border with the West was loosening, could they now make it to the West? That summer, East Germans decided Hungary was the latest top holiday destination. They traveled there in droves, and using various methods, tens of thousands crossed the border into Austria and the West. Honecker was furious, and blocked travel to Hungary, but that civil liberties train had started rolling, and it wasn't stopping. Thousands more flocked to the West German embassy in Prague, where they stormed the fence around the embassy gardens, and a temporary refugee camp was set up. In September, deals were struck to allow the refugees to travel west via train. Back in East Germany, the people were running on a civil liberties high, and they wanted their next hit. Dissent was growing. Over time, demonstrations turned to mass protest, with plainclothes secret police officers doing their best to put down the dissent, but it had grown well out of their control. And worse, the biggest demonstration was yet to come. We're gonna put all of this down by force, right guys? Guys? Unfortunately, everyone had realized what he had not. This was bigger than them, and the entire East German Politburo voted him out of power. On November 4th, over 500,000 East Germans took to the streets of East Berlin. For many, there was still one big target left in their sights. That damn wall. The pressure on the East German government was too great, and on November 9th, they made a bit of a chaotic announcement that the travel ban between East and West was being lifted. The change wasn't meant to take effect until the next day, and crossing guards still had orders to shoot on sight any who tried to cross. But that night, huge crowds gathered at the crossing points, and the guards were overwhelmed. In an astronomically historic moment, after decades of family separation and travel restriction, the people were allowed.
This was
through.
huge.
East and West Berliners couldn't believe it and celebrated together throughout the night. Some even climbed the wall and began to topple it. The Iron Curtain had fallen, and a year later, Germany would be reunited. Elections in Bulgaria, a peaceful revolution in Czechoslovakia, and a violent one in Romania brought to an end communist authority in the Eastern Bloc. America decided it would be best if it just stayed away and let the change happen, as the anti-communist movement continued all the way back to Moscow. Gorbachev had given the people the freedom to demonstrate. Now, they demonstrated for an end to the communist single-party rule, and Gorbachev had to give in. For the first time in history, elections were held in which candidates not endorsed by the party were allowed
Here
to
we
run.
go.
Ambitious rival of Gorbachev, Boris Yeltsin, led a growing democratic movement. Now things here get quite confusing, and the dissolution of the Soviet Union is a complicated topic, so believe me, this is oversimplified, but it went a little bit like this. The Soviet Union was made up of a number of smaller Soviet republics, the largest of which was Russia. Yeltsin got himself elected the president of Russia, and began a struggle for sovereignty against Gorbachev and the greater Soviet Union. Communist hardliners were horrified at what Gorbachev was allowing, so they briefly kidnapped him and tried to set up their own emergency government. But Yeltsin and his supporters all gathered around the White House in Moscow and were like, no, we have a tank. So the hardliners had to concede and released Gorbachev. Wow, thanks Boris. That was a close one. No problem. And thanks to you for all the great freedom you've given us. Anytime, pal. And just to inform you, I've used that freedom you've given us to go behind your back and make a deal with Ukraine and Belarus to dissolve the Soviet Union and set up the Russian Federation. In other words, you're no longer in charge. I am. Dude. So uncool. And so decades of tension and the everlasting threat of nuclear war finally
Jesus
came to an end
Christ.
as democratic governments were established in many of the old Soviet republics, and the world got along together forever after. Right, guys?
No! Don't say that! Oh god. Don't say that. No. Oh, Jesus Christ. Oh no.
As democratic governments were established in many of the old Soviet republics, and the world got along together forever after. Right, guys?
Coming soon or later. Oh, Jesus Christ. Oh no, stop. Holy fuck, dude. Jesus Christ. What is all this? Wow. Wow. How old is this? 16 years.
Rafflemouth. Do 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 do. Rafflemouth. Do 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 do.
I hate everything about this. I hate everything about this. What it?
Hi there.
Who are you?
I'm old Greg. Pleased to meet you.
What do you want?
Maybe I should ask you the same question. What you doing in my waters?
Just taking the air, you know. Not fishing.
Well, then how come this hook's in my head, fool?
It's nothing to do with me, sir.
It's attached to your rod, mother liquor.
Don't kill me. I've got so much to give.
Easy now, fuzzy little man Peach. You ever drunk Baileys from a shoe?
What?
You wanna come to a club where people wee on each other?
No.
I'm gonna hurt you.
Excuse me?
I like you. What do you think of me?
I don't rightly know, sir.
Make an assessment.
I think you're a nice, modern gentleman.
Don't lie to me, boy.
I'm not lying.
I know what you're thinking. Here comes old Greg. He's a scaly manfish. You don't know me. You don't know what I got. I got something to show you. You know what that is? That's old Greg's vagina. I got a mangina.
What the fuck is this? What the fuck was that? I think that was worse. I think that was worse. What is all this? Nina, what are you sending me, man? DX is hardcoring. He says he's getting to 20 today. A cope. Massive coke.
Hey, Charlie! Hey, Charlie, wake up! Yeah, Charlie, you silly sleepyhead, wake up!
Oh God, you guys. This had better be pretty freaking important. Is the meadow on fire?
No, Charlie, we found a map to Candy Mountain. Candy Mountain, Charlie. Yeah, Charlie, we're going to Candy Mountain. Come with us, Charlie. Yeah, Charlie, it'll be an adventure. We're going on an adventure, Charlie.
Yeah, Candy Mountain, right. I'm just gonna, go back to sleep now.
No, Charlie, you have to come with us to Candy Mountain. Yeah, Charlie, Candy Mountain. It's a land of sweets and joy and joyness.
Please stop bouncing on me.
Candy Mountain, Charlie. Yeah, Candy Mountain.
All right, fine. I'll go with you to Candy Mountain.
La 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 la. La 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 la.
Enough with the singing already.
Our first stop is over there, Charlie.
Oh God, what is that?
It's a Leopleurodon, Charlie. A magical Leopleurodon. It's gonna guide our way to Candy Mountain.
All right, guys, you do know that there's no actual Candy Mountain, right?
Shun the non-believer. Shun.
Yeah.
It has spoken. It has told us the way.
It didn't say anything.
It's just over this bridge, Charlie. This magical bridge of hope and wonder.
Is anyone else getting, covered in splinters? Seriously, guys, we shouldn't be on this thing.
Charlie! Charlie! Charlie!
I'm right here. What do you want?
We're on a bridge, Charlie. We're here.
Well, what do you know? There actually is a Candy Mountain.
Candy Mountain, Candy Mountain. You fill me with sweet, sugary goodness. Go inside the Candy Mountain cave, Charlie. Yeah, Charlie. Go inside the cave. Magical wonders are to behold when you enter.
Yeah, thanks, but no thanks. I'm gonna stay out here.
But you have to enter the Candy Mountain Candy Cave, Charlie.
What am I?
Oh, when you're down and looking for some cheering up, Then just head right
Watching.
on up to the Candy Mountain Cave. When you get inside, you'll find yourself a cheery land. Such a happy and joy-filled and perky merry land. They've got lollipops and gummy drops and candy things. Oh, so many things that will brighten up your day. It's impossible to wear a frown in Candy Town. It's the mecca of love, the Candy Cave. They've got jelly beans and coconuts with little hats. Candy rats, chocolate bats. It's a wonderland of sweets. Ride the candy train to town and hear the candy band. Candy bells, it's a treat as they march across the land. Cherry ribbons stream across the sky and to the ground. Turn around, it astounds. It's a dancing candy tree. In the Candy Cave, imagination runs so free. So now, Charlie, please will you go into the cave?
Alright, fine. I'll go into the freaking candy cave. This had better be good.
Yeah. Goodbye, Charlie. Yeah, goodbye, Charlie.
Goodbye? What? Hey, what's going on here? Hello? Who is that? Oh, what happened? Oh, they took my freaking kidney.
All right, and with that, I am ending my career forever. That's right. Okay. I hope you guys watch. I hope you guys enjoy. What the fuck? The voices. M. Do not click the next video. The voices. All of them upon review, and they were never aired.
My spoon is too big. My spoon is too big. My spoon is too big.
Right.
I am a banana.
Tuesday's coming. Did you bring your coat? I live in a giant bucket.
What the fuck? Oh.
You're watching the Family Learning Channel. And now, angry ticks fire out of my nipples. Say, do you want to go see a movie? I'm feeling fat and sassy.
There are definitely some drugs involved. Oh, for sure. There are drugs involved. This is a 9-minute video. I don't think I could take 9 minutes of this. Well, rip his eyes. What?
Oh, honey, come quick. Poopy's taking his first steps.
Dance! Everybody dance! Life is good! This is fun!
I'm waiting for the twist. It's coming. Oh.
My anus is bleeding! My anus is bleeding! For the love of God and all that is holy, my anus is bleeding!
I think that much blood, you'd be dead by now. You'd be dead. You'd definitely be dead. I'm not high enough for this. I need to like pour myself a drink or something.
The monkey poured coffee in my moods.
How the fuck? Uh. 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 Right. Never let him cook again. Don't let him cook. Don't let him cook. Don't don't let him cook. Uh. Don't don't let him cook. What? What the fuck, man? What the fuck? Good old days before YouTube. What a week. I mean, what a day for Nino. I think this is just top of the Nino iceberg. Bro, this is not even like, this is maybe layer 2 at best. This is This all started from the ISS, by the way. This is where it all began. It's all the ISS fault, really. At the end of the day, we can blame the ISS for where we are today. Jesus Christ. Right. Can we stop talking about ISS? Why? What's wrong with the ISS? Look at it. Look at its beauty, man. Look. Why would you not open the image in a new tab? Oh my god. Ow. My stomach hurts like hell. Have you seen the alien spaceships the Nazis hid on the North Pole? Bro, there's so many arcs. Holy fuck. They did what now? Someone will mention how Earth is flat, and we will watch like 30 minutes of Flat Earther. I don't know what you're talking about. New arc time. Oh no. Oh no. This is actually real. This is like real. Jesus Christ. Like, I don't understand. How is this thing called a UFO? A UFO is literally an unidentified flying object. This is obviously not unidentified because you identified it with the term UFO. That makes no sense. That makes no sense. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense, chat. Oh, God. Nothing makes sense anymore. Jesus Christ. So no means yes. No. No, it doesn't. Why is there an update for Eco? Oh, hotfix. Let's see. Let's take a look at the hotfixes. Bank accounts created since the last server restart would display a dual permission error and be unusable. Homesteads were able to be placed outside of a settlement when joining that settlement before placing it down. Changing the owner of a vehicle was causing a crash. Well, that's good. Opening the influence page in the Ecopedia was causing a crash. Immigration policies could become invalid and cause a crash when a player tried to leave a settlement or was made to. You could literally just crash somebody by being like, immigration policies in effect, you are now forced to leave. The claim tool will now auto-select the deed with the closest plot among those owned every time it is selected. Once a manual selection is made, this behavior stops for the rest of the play session. Huh. Okay. Fits what Segamo posted. Most terrifying alien abductions in history. I'm not watching that. They said it Among Us. Update. I am exhausted. My stomach hurts. Everything hurts. Ow. Let's go into the rabbit hole. We went through one rabbit hole today. We're not doing another one. We're not. I don't have the time for it on Forge as well. I wanna take a nap before I go to work because I'm way too tired. I am way too tired. I had no sleep last night. I need to set an alarm real quick. 1 second. It's bad because I should force myself to stay awake, but I don't think I can. We'll see. I definitely won't keep streaming because it's like literally like absolutely killing me. I crawled into a tiny area and replaced 3 light bulbs today. Pog you, dude. Holy. This is me pogging at the fact that you replaced 3 light bulbs. What is my phone yelling at me about? Alright. Chat, that was a fun arc for the last almost 4 hours. Don't you think? That was good. I'm gonna go take a nap. I'm gonna go nap. Okay? Sounds good. I go nap. And then tomorrow we'll be live at 8 a.m. Eastern. Should be down in the panels, hopefully. I think I fixed them. What was I gonna say? What was I gonna say? I don't know. I'm gonna chat about the eco stuff on Discord. See what census is looking like. There's quite a few people interested, which is really nice. I'm gonna see if I can grab a few more, and then most likely after the holidays, eco will happen. Tomorrow we'll get back into Space Engineers. We'll do some WoW. Anything else? I think that's it. Think that's it. Yeah. Alright, chat. I am gonna go. I'm gonna go because I feel horrible right now. I'm gonna try to stay awake, but if I do fall asleep, I have an alarm, so that will be good. But I don't think I'm gonna be able to stay awake. I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't think I'm gonna be able to. I think I'm gonna fall asleep. But yeah, you guys take care of yourselves and each other. I love you guys. Have a wonderful rest of your day, evening, night, whatever time may be for you. I will see you guys tomorrow, bright and early at 8 a.m. Eastern. And then we'll talk about what we're going to do in the coming weeks and all that stuff. Thanks for the laughs. I'm glad that you enjoyed. I'm glad that you stuck by and watched some crazy videos and went down some weird arcs with me. It was fun. Let's never do that again, okay? Bye, guys. Talk to you tomorrow. Bye-bye.